it, so I'm having it dry. Oh, yeah. No, Alexis is not speaking. So you don't think.
It being 5:30, I'll call the meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Village of Peoria Heights to order. Before we get too far into the meeting, I wanted to pause and note that we here in Peoria Heights lost a giant of our community over the weekend. On Sunday, Ray Pitzel, our youngest mayor ever and our longest serving mayor, passed away at age 96. He served the better part of 7 terms in Peoria Heights from 1969 to 1997. At everyone's spot here on the horseshoe, I've left a silver coin from when Mayor Pitzel hosted our 75th anniversary for the Village of Peoria Heights. And so I wanted to just acknowledge that before we have our moment of silence. And I do want to announce that on Saturday, November the 1st, at 10 a.m. to 12 noon, there'll be a visitation at the Peoria Heights Christian Church right across the street for Mayor Pitzel, followed at noon with a funeral, and then a graveside service from 1:30 to 3 at Swan Lake. Everyone's welcome to attend. So with that, I'd ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. But please, for now, remember Mayor Pitzel in a moment of prayer or silent reflection.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Steinwell?
Present.
Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Simmons?
Present.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Trustee Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Trustee Reichert?
Present.
All present, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll move along to the approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting on September 16th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Kazam, seconded by Trustee Simmons. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll have a voice vote on that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We're down to mayoral announcement. I was asked to read this, so here it goes. The Village of Peoria Heights will convene a public meeting on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. at Peoria Heights Village Hall, 4901 North Prospect Road, Peoria Heights, Illinois, regarding the possible establishment of the proposed Peoria Heights Tax Increment Financing TIF District Number 4. The proposed purpose of the meeting will be to enable the village to advise the public, taxing districts having real property in the redevelopment project area, taxpayers who own property in the redevelopment project area, and residents in the area as to the village's possible intent to prepare the redevelopment plan and projects and designate a redevelopment project area for the proposed TIF District Number 4 and to receive public comment. That's it. We're now down to comments from the audience on agenda items only. If you have a comment, I'd ask that you come to the podium, give your name and address, and try to keep your comment to 5 minutes. Public comments going once. We have a public comment.
Hi, my name's Adrian Cavender. I live at 4961 North Grandview.
I spoke before the board back in September of 2024, and I want to talk again about the fire department based on the contract that's before you. Back in September, I highlighted the many external factors that go into running a fire department and how those all lead to unpredictability and a lack of control on the board's part. And I essentially encouraged hiring full-time firefighters at that time, doing things that would give as much control to you, the most direct representatives of us, over how we use our taxpayer dollars, over how safe we ultimately are. I had hoped for a much different outcome then, but I don't want to rehash that necessarily. I wanted to instead address some specific things about this contract and how I see it. Back then I talked about, I do contracting for fire departments, mostly from a grant writing perspective. And at this point I've worked with almost 200 departments all throughout the country, 39 different states. And I've worked with departments that have a handful of volunteer personnel, departments that have hundreds of paid personnel, departments that are operating on tens of thousands in an annual budget, and some that can barely make it by with tens of millions in their budget. And not a single one of them, as far as I'm aware, has an agreement like this in place where they pay for automatic aid. The department that I can speak to most comprehensively is the one that I served on as a firefighter, which is Momence, Illinois. So Momence is a 3,500 person town, small town. It's a volunteer paid on call fire department. There's no full-time personnel. Everybody is giving their time, just as you would expect in a small town in Illinois. The contracted ambulance service runs 1,400 or so EMS runs a year. The fire department does about 400 calls. And there have been many struggles in Momence, like all of the departments that I've worked with, but they've always made it through without entering into a financial agreement with another municipality. I was just scrolling while I was sitting in the back through the box cards for Momence and looking at who comes for structure fires of different kinds, for accidents of different kinds. And every geographic contiguous fire district around the city of Momence responds uncompensated when there's a structure fire. What they bring is different if it's residential, if there's a hydrant nearby versus out in the country, if it's commercial, but every single one of them willingly gives their personnel, their apparatus to assist a neighbor, which is fundamentally what the fire service is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be a brotherhood that is helping, that's lending assistance when it's needed without an expectation of being paid for that. The only real expectation from these mutual aid departments is that when the shoe is on the other foot, that Momence would be there to support them as well. And this idea of paying another department is very foreign to me. It's not simply little podunk towns of 3,000 or 1,000 that are doing this. The city of Kankakee, in the 20,000 range, Bourbonnais, Bradley, in the 10 to 20,000 range, are also sending apparatus. They're sending their full-time chiefs, their full-time firefighters to assist their neighbors. And it's because it's the right thing to do. At the end of the day, my view of the agreement that's in front of you is that it's essentially a blank check, which is not responsible governance for a board to undertake. And for Peoria's part in this, I would say that the agreement is fundamentally flawed, that it goes against the principles of the fire service. And I strongly encourage you all to vote against this. I do think that there are other ways forward. Hopefully with a chief in place, with the board working hard, with new members of the board here to consider it, you can find that option, but I do not think that it is this from my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments from the audience? Comments going once, twice? Comments are closed. We're down to proclamations. Jim, would you come? Jim, thank you for being here. So this is a proclamation for the Peoria Heights Community Band. Whereas the Peoria Heights Community Band will celebrate its 40th year in 2026, whereas Peoria Heights Community Band started out as a church band for the Peoria Heights Congregational Church before branching out to other venues, including area nursing homes, senior housing complexes, where its music brings joy and gets the toes a tapping for many of our residents. Whereas the band has a 6-month performance season sprinkled with multiple concerts, including 3 summer events right here at Tower Park, where music fills the air on the 4th Thursday of June, July, and August. Whereas the band's membership has grown from the original 13 to almost triple that, with up to 35 musicians who represent a cross-section of Central Illinois, ranging in age from the early 20s to nearly 80, and representing multiple communities across the region. Whereas the band is a testament to quality and consistency, with just 3 presidents over the 39 years, founder Jim Park, Barbara Larson, and now Jim Jones, while priding itself with a rotating cast of guest conductors. Whereas the band brags a diverse playlist from American songbook to jazz, from pop to Broadway show tunes, and whereas the band represents a cultural opportunity for the community and a chance to be exposed to the world of song well beyond its borders, while at the heart it's just pure entertainment. Whereas the band plays all over Central Illinois these days, but its identity is and always will be wrapped up in its birthplace, the village of Peoria Heights. We, the village board and mayor of Peoria Heights, hereby acknowledge the rich contributions of the Peoria Heights Community Band to this village, applaud its long and distinguished run, and thank all its members over the years for filling our days with music in a community that just values the performing arts like few others. May your next 40 years be as fruitful and fun as the past 40. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's my pleasure and privilege to be up here in front of you. Our band is in its 39th year, 40th anniversary coming up next year. We're dedicated to the city. We have been for that many years, and this is a testimonial not only to us, but certainly the support that we get from the mayor and all of you. So I thank you in advance for all that, and welcome and come to our concerts.
The fun isn't over yet. Barb, would you come up, please? Okay, so this is a proclamation for Exhibit A Gallery and Barb Malascio. Whereas Exhibit A Gallery is celebrating its 30th birthday, a great achievement for any small business, whereas the art gallery under the ownership of Barb Malascio has enjoyed success at 4 different locations, the last 2 in Peoria Heights, growing every step of the way. Whereas Exhibit A Gallery is a survivor, and then some, as one of the last independent, non-corporate frame shops in Peoria area after starting 3 decades ago with a dozen competitors. Whereas Exhibit A has proven a perfect fit for the mom and pop culture of Peoria Heights, displaying and selling the work of artists who are 100% local to this part of Central Illinois. Whereas the keys to success in business that Barb Malascio and her gallery have discovered, relationship building and the ability to turn customers into friends, constant reinvention and a strong and stable staff, the creativity and stamina to triumph even through the mandatory shutdown of a global pandemic, may serve as motivation and guide to other aspiring entrepreneurs in our village and beyond. Whereas in addition to her shop, Barb Malascio has exhibited leadership in the community, specifically with the Peoria Heights Chamber of Commerce, where she is the immediate past president of the board. Whereas Barb Malascio has been instrumental in organizing some of the most popular public events in Central Illinois, including the Heights Art Fair and the Kringle Market. Whereas Barb Malascio and her gallery have created a climate that is supportive of and inspiring to the arts in a community that values them as few others do. Whereas no one other says it better than Barb Malascio herself, there's no other place I would ever open a business. You need to go to Peoria Heights to run a small business. We're one of a kind. We, the Village of Board and the Mayor of Peoria Heights, hereby share in the celebration of Exhibit A Gallery's 30th year in business and recognize Barb Malascio not only for adopting the Heights as her professional home, but for her becoming one of the best cheerleaders, advocates, and volunteers our village has been blessed to have. No community can have too many of those. Thank you, Barb. Signed, Matt Wigington, Mayor.
Thank you for this, for the acknowledgement. It is hard to believe, 30 years with being a small business owner. And this, to have it all summed up, it's like, wow, it really is. It's it. And I tell you what, there truly is no other place to have a small business than Peoria Heights. The camaraderie that we have amongst businesses, our chamber, the support that we have of the village, it makes a difference. When I have people come to me and they're thinking about, opening of a business and what is your advice, and I'm just like location, 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 and I truly think anywhere in central Illinois, Peoria Heights is it. So, and it has helped my business prosper. So thanks for being there, and I'm proud to say that I own a small business in Peoria Heights.
So some really good news to kick off this fun meeting. Let's go on to Prospect Road presentation, Hanson Professional Service. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for having us tonight. We appreciate the opportunity to discuss the project. Just want to start off by setting the stage with kind of where we're at with the project, talking about the meeting purpose, what we want to achieve out of this. We're going to talk about, how we develop these alternatives that I think Mark has presented to you and talked with you with that we provided. I'm going to talk about how we develop some of the roadway aspects of it. Kathy will discuss some of the streetscape alternatives there. Tonight we'll be focused on the section from Marietta to Kingdom. I did mention Kathy earlier. We have some of the other design team with me, so I would like to introduce them. So we do have Kathy Poole. She's with Dewberry. She's our urban designer and landscape architect. Kurt Balabaski, he's the project principal with Hanson. And Mike Breitbach, he's the project manager with Dewberry, all significantly involved in the project, along with Netta Nafa, traffic engineer of the project, and another one of our sub-consultants, Alicia Herman's here for other purposes as well. So really the purpose of this meeting, we wanted to update you guys on the status of the project, what we've done, what the schedule is moving forward, what's coming up, but really focus on the alternatives of what we provided. What we really need coming out of this meeting is some direction from the village on, which section you guys want to move forward with, because this is really going to set the stage for the design moving forward. And when I say section, I just want to reiterate, really what we're looking to achieve is where's that curb line going to be, right? What's that roadway look like? How many lanes? What the parking lane is, so that we can define that space and move forward with the design of the roadway, and also of the people space behind the curb, right? Where everything happens down here in Prospect Road. Since we've got notice to proceed in the spring, we moved forward with a lot of data collection, obviously developed these alternatives, but our focus has been really on, reviewing all the existing studies you guys have previously put together, some of those plans. Probably seen several of our folks out here collecting information on existing utilities, doing survey, getting pavement cores, soil samples, all the like. We also came out here quite a bit to do observations of what the pedestrian activity is out here, how many bicyclists are out here, right? What's that interaction between traffic and bikes and vehicles, right? Where people are crossing the street, where people are parking, right? To better understand what the issues are here, to solve the problems and meet the goals of this project. We have also been coordinating routinely with the city of Peoria, since they do own the section of road from War Memorial to Lake Street. And then really coming out of this meeting, and I don't know the decision needs to be made tonight, right? But we are looking for something here in the next probably by the end of October, right? This is kind of a critical point for this. But we'll be moving forward with public involvement activities, and then wrapping up the Phase 1 design report next year. So this section here is the existing roadway section from US 150 to Lake Street. Like I just mentioned, it's the city Peoria section. We presented them with alternatives after performing our analysis with the data collected. We did several traffic studies, projections, modeling. Really what we showed them here in both alternatives is that we don't need 5 lanes of road through this section, right? This is the most heavily traveled stretch of Prospect Road, higher than the northern section from Marietta to Glen here. But the 3 lanes functions essentially as efficiently as the current 5-lane section does. This proposed section, you can see, has a separated sidewalk, a separated multi-use path. That path would be able to connect War Memorial up to Marietta. So that section that is part of the villages from Marietta to Lake would be a similar section like that. So how do we arrive at some of these proposed design elements? We know that likely funding is going to have to come from the state or feds to complete this project. So we know we're going to abide by IDOT design criteria and standards. We're also going to have to follow PROWAG, which is the pedestrian right-of-way and accessibility guidelines. That's really going to determine what we can do in that people space, or at least set the minimum of what we're going to have to do, right? Involves, dealing with curb ramps, flat landings, right? Access to and from buildings. Also talks about the number of accessible spaces we have to have out there and what the size of those and the ramps that look like to make sure this is accessible for all users out here. One other thing we looked at as we progress the design here is what the context of this area is, right? The section from Marietta here to Kingman shows 4 separate sections here. Basically, those contexts are kind of what's outside the right-of-way, what's outside the roadway, what's behind the sidewalk, right? Is it, are the buildings up along the right-of-way? What's the uses of the building, right? So that way, when we look at this design, we can holistically approach it, right? So it's kind of meld them all together to be one consistent corridor throughout. And then on the outside, we'd maybe do some, minor things to adapt to maybe some of the different context zones, right, to fit, but keep that consistent theme throughout the corridor. One of the other items we worked on was setting a modal hierarchy. So basically that's a ranking of when we came to the point where a decision needs to be made as far as which mode of transportation out here we should select. This list kind of guided us through making those choices. So we really view this area as a destination, right? It's a very heavily commercial business corridor, right? So pedestrians are key and vital to this area, right? Because we need to be able to get people here. They need to be able to move freely throughout the corridor, provide access to all the businesses and restaurants and shops along here. Like I said, it's a destination. We're a very vehicle-centric society here in the Midwest, so vehicles are important. We still need to keep everybody here. And that's what our modeling has shown, that with this road diet section, with the 3-lane section, that's still going to be able to achieve similar efficiency to what we show today. Transit, we certainly want to consider CityLink. They have a route through town, several stops, several times a day. So we will discuss with them and coordinate with them on what items they want to implement, right? Whether it's more stops, less stops, more amenities for them, but coordinate those improvements with them to make sure their needs are being addressed as well. And then lastly on this list is bicycles. A lot of people think of Fleet Street's projects, it's adding bike lanes, bike routes, things like that, right? And a lot of our observations out there, we saw hardly any bike traffic, just a handful of several times we were out there. We're speculating most of that has to do with the Rock Island Greenway being so close to this area, right? It's a great asset. A lot of users like it, right, versus on-road situation, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about how we address the bikes later and the alternatives. So what are some of the solutions we want to solve out here, right? What are some of the challenges we have? We know one of the main goals of the project is improving the infrastructure, whether it be the road, utilities, sidewalk, curb, all those items. We know parking's been a hot button issue. We've heard a lot in our engagements with the community about pedestrian safety and accessibility. Then also from business owners, the ability to make sure they can maintain their business operations, right, and get deliveries. So the way we look at this, we're obviously going to look at reconstructing the section completely, or major rehabilitation of the pavement, excuse me. But that would involve utilities, looking at all those items. Parking, I think we all know here that, what we're doing with this project isn't going to address the ongoing parking situation in Peoria Heights. So what we looked at all these alternatives was just at least maintaining parking that's out there. Accessibility and pedestrian safety kind of go hand in hand. We want to provide at least a wider people space, a defined access route for people to get through this corridor. From our observations out there, and maybe somewhat in the picture here, some of these areas can be very tight, bottlenecks, right? There can be obstacles in the way, especially for maybe potentially handicapped people, right? And they may not be compliant as well. So we want to make sure we upgrade all that. In safety, we heard a lot about people saying, hey, I'm not going to cross the street here. I need to go to this block, right? Or things like that. In our observations, we identified a lot of those areas where we found people crossing. Talked to them a little bit why they're hesitant and safety, but implementing some traffic calming measures to essentially try and slow down that traffic, right? Create safer crossings, implement some bump outs so people don't have to step in the road and maybe see oncoming vehicles, and other things, maybe like RFB. I mean, those are things that come down the road, but so here's our existing section from Marietta to Glen. This is showing the 5-lane section. This is predominantly what's in this section through Prospect Avenue. I know there are a couple blocks of 4-lane sections, but predominantly this is the example here we shown. So, back slide. So, like we talked about tonight, what we're looking for is what this proposed section is going to look like based on this existing section. So, as we look at this, I mean, we could go back with this same section throughout Prospect Road, right? But with the problems kind of and solutions with challenges we just talked about that exist within the corridor, this doesn't leave us with a lot of opportunity to address some of that because we wouldn't be creating any more essentially space in that pedestrian zone, right? We wouldn't be able to create any more parking. We mentioned ProWag earlier, right? Access in and out of buildings. There's several buildings along here with steps in the buildings. We may have to put in ramps, that don't exist today in that pedestrian zone that would have to go in there to be able to get handicap access to those facilities. Parking spaces are going to have to be bigger for those accessible to comply with the ProAg standards. They're also going to require ramps, so it's even more space that's going to be taken up by some of that. So really the decision comes down to, like we talked about earlier, doing the traffic studies and modeling. We determined that 3-lane section does function with the design traffic out here. We talked about the ongoing parking issues. So we want to at least maintain there, and we want to at least maintain what the pedestrian zone has today and not narrow that down anymore. So really what the deciding factor was for us in developing those alternatives is what we do with that space that's highlighted in red here, right? Do we keep it as a lane? Do we make it dedicated to bike facilities? Do we add it to that sidewalk area, right? And that's where we came up with, I guess, our first alternative here. So on the left, you can see the existing section. We showed a 4-lane section here, and then we have our proposed section here. So it has the 3 lanes, still has the parking, has a sidewalk area, but we did add on-street bike lanes on this section. So when you compare it to the existing 4-lane section, the curbs are essentially staying in the same spot. They're not moving. You're not gaining any space in the sidewalk area. In the 5-lane section, you would gain a little bit because you're taking more than 1 lane, right? So there would be some addition there. This option kind of comes with some of its own challenges, though, as well. One, we talked about it a little bit earlier, we don't have a lot of bikes out there. We didn't see a lot of bike activity with the Greenway being out there. So you'd be taking up a lot of space for some facility that may not be widely used, right? A lot of bicyclists don't always like riding on the road either of the percentage of people who would opt to bike, right? They like more safer spaces where they're not up against traffic, up against parking, where people open their doors, right? It's another safety factor that they have to deal with. So bicyclists. So the next two alternatives, like I mentioned earlier, we don't have dedicated facilities on Prospect for them. And that's mainly because of the Rock Island Greenway and access we have to that. So our plan would be to address it a little bit differently. Again, we view this area as a destination, right? We want to get people there. We don't want to get people through here, right? So we want to get bicyclists in this area. We want to get them off their bikes and become, patrons. Want them to shop, want them to eat, want them to dine, right? So we'd be looking at obviously improving the intersection with Marietta, adding a trailhead potentially there. We already had the existing connection with Duryea, so maybe that's some signage, pavement marking type issue, but then adding another trailhead at that intersection would make an easy connection on a relatively low speed, low volume road where people would maybe feel safe riding. And then obviously there's other areas where we can implement bike racks for where people can park. There's excuse me. There's also the obstacle of the hill there, kind of from Marietta to Kelly, right? Some people. So that's why we want to provide another alternative there at Duryea. So alternative 2, again here, same 3-lane section, got rid of the bike lanes, maintained the parking, parallel parking, but we took all that space we showed earlier that was highlighted in red and put it in that sidewalk area. That's the area that really, I guess in our opinion, and why we set the pedestrians so high on that modal arc is really what defines this area, right? It's what makes this place great. And we feel that by adding space there, we can do more in that area, whether it's Kathy's streetscape options or additional dining, right? And maybe that's creates enough space where those containers could go away, right? And you could add more parking back, things like that, right? Or it's just more space for dining too, so. Next is alternative 3. This is very similar to alternative 2. The main difference is that center median. So we had some turn lanes shown in every block on the previous option. This option, we may need a left turn lane here and there, but really we could stripe that out, leave it out there as a space for, especially when deliveries or buses come. People can run around those buses, they can get around and still maintain that traffic flow through here. But again, it's all about what can we do to create that most space in that sidewalk area. And that's what Kathy's gonna come up and talk about a little bit here some more. So.
Thank you. Down here. Thank you, trustees. Thank you, citizens. So Bryce has talked about between the curb, and he's showing, what I call the people space, this pedestrian zones on each side, as really blank and boring. But it's anything but, right? That's the life of this place. That's what makes it charming and wonderful. And so how do we maintain that charm? How can we make it better? And so we have a number of ideas on this, but I want to make clear first, if we keep the curbs where they are, it isn't just a status quo solution for the pedestrian space, for the people space. Because as Bryce pointed out, some of that space is going to get taken up with getting people from their cars, accessible spaces, from their cars to the sidewalk. And some of that space is going to be taken up from getting from an establishment down to the sidewalk. And we all know it's kind of crowded already, right? We're not meeting the PROAC standards. And so once we have to meet those, that space that you have now is necessarily going to get smaller unless we do alternative 2 or 3, and we take that space and put it in the sidewalk. So that then we have, I think it's like 13 feet, 9 inches, and then we have like 22 feet, which is a big difference, and it gives us lots of opportunities. Do I have the clicker? Sorry. These are some really simple sketches of what alternative 2 and 3 can be like, because this is about people, right? It's about commerce and dining and going to places that have been here for 30 years, and the joy and the life of that. So we need to create a space that's full of life. And what makes life? Well, lovely trees make life. Lots of bustling, lots of buying, lots of dining, clinking of glasses, all that good stuff. So we want to make sure that space can happen more freely. So what you're seeing in this, and I can't do a pointer, is you're seeing that trees are put down in grates, right? So they're not obstructing the sidewalk. So they just glide right over. We don't have accessibility problems of rolling over. And what you're seeing is a double staggered row of trees in this one, in this particular scheme that we're showing, because we're starting to try and imagine, how do we put more life? How do we support the life that's here? So that you could have something that's really special, like nobody else has this. But with that 22 feet, you could have this. And what you're seeing on the left-hand side in the plan is starting an exploration, just one option, because there are many, of how you could have dining on the curbside and all the space, and then still a dedicated kind of walkway that meets the PROAG, regulations for people to go by storefronts and see stuff and get all excited. Or we can flip it, and have the dining storefront side instead of curbside. There are all kinds of options. Those kinds of options, I don't have time to talk about tonight, and we would have further discussions about these, including the village, in a public setting, about what those options can be. And that's not even counting any lights or anything else that we put in there to make this place really even more magical, than it is. So this is just to give you a taste of that, of how we address life in this place. And did I forget anything? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. So if you probably already didn't know, based on Kathy there, I think our design team recommendation at this point would be for alternative 3, 2 or 3 really, because it's really the same option. There's a little bit different nuance with the middle parking lane, but essentially it's getting that space, setting that curb line as close as possible to narrow up that road and give that space to the pedestrians. So we would recommend a consistent section through here, right, from Marietta to Glen, involving parallel parking. I know we presented some angled parking options that would lead to potentially some further discontinuities, disruptions throughout the corridor, and really wouldn't be much of a net gain in parking or solve any of the issues that come up here. So I think with that being said, we'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to present here. And again, just reiterate, what we're here, what we're looking for. We want to set what this section looks like through here so that we can proceed with this design and move it forward, so that way we can complete this phase 1 study and hopefully better position the village to get funding for this project and final design and construction. So with that being said, thank you all, and any questions or anything like that, we'd be happy to take. We'd certainly be able to meet later on if anything should come up. So,
Well, I thank you for this wonderful presentation, and it seems very thorough, and I appreciate you and your team. And I know that there are several trustees that are chomping at the bit to ask you questions. I mean, it's everyone just sat up in their chair. I in the respect for time, and Mark, I don't know if you need to jump in here or not, but
I'm quick, whatever you need.
if you need to say,
Yeah, the only thing that I'm going to add is, I know I sent you a recommendation letter. It is not going to match exactly what Hanson sent you. I looked at it from the lens of currently what does Peoria Heights have, what they do not have. So I did recommend some more angled parking. Is that best long-term aesthetically for the Heights? It is not, but I'm looking at it as, this is what exactly do we have. Long-term, it'd be great, as they mentioned, if you can find off-site parking, if we can figure out some of the lots with some of the owners around here, that's fantastic. That's probably the safest route to go. It would give you the larger space for the pedestrians. But if I looked at it as from an engineer sitting right here in Peoria Heights and said, if nothing changes in the next 10 years, what is the best benefit? That doesn't mean it's the prettiest benefit. It's, as an engineer, it just gives you more spots. So that's probably the main difference between what I said and what they said. I would tell you go with parallel parking because it would look better, but it doesn't, functionality for parking, that's the main difference. That's the only thing I would say is different. Theirs would look better. Mine was coming at it from you need as many spots as you can get. That's all.
fair enough. Okay. If you are comfortable with a few questions, I know that my trustees would have a few.
yeah, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
If you guys have time. So.
Go ahead. Okay.
For the center lane, why do you prefer the non-turn lane option?
It really doesn't matter from a traffic perspective. It really could go either way, right? what we want to do is create enough space, one, to be able to allow deliveries to happen, right, and still maintain those 2 lanes of traffic. So really the difference in distance between the two isn't anything. We'll have to have some turn lanes at some certain intersections, probably Marietta or Glen, Marietta, right? But on some of the side streets, it's probably not warranted. But in those areas with the painted median, we could do potentially placing RFBs, right, at heavy pedestrian crossings, right? I know you have some of those signs out here today, but a lot of times they're hidden by, parked cars or trees that are out there today. If we had a place where we could put them in the middle of the street, right, they would get noticed, right? It'd be much more visible to oncoming traffic. So when someone's coming out there and that light's flashing at you saying, hey, I'm pedestrians crossing the street, I should probably slow down, right?
But if we go with the striped center and we put in turn lanes, we lose parking spots. Correct?
No.
Okay.
So the only difference between the 2 and 3 is what's happening in the middle of the road. And really that's just a painting difference, right?
Okay.
Whether it's you mark it with the left turn lane or you mark it with a striped out median.
It's the same width, it's the same dimension, the widths are the same dimension?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
The only point I'll make to that is, it doesn't matter what stripe there, if you have a truck unloading, people are going around the truck, right? That's just, it's gonna happen in that situation, whether or not it's striped away or it's a turn lane, people are gonna go around that in a 3-lane setup like that is, so.
I think I worded that incorrectly. So like if we had the striped in the center and we put in the left or right turn, or we put in the right turn lanes, how does that fit in?
Well, we wouldn't have any right turn lanes in this section,
Okay.
for the most part, except
So
maybe.
you would just break up the striped section and then be like, okay, now it's a left turn lane. I'm sorry to be a pain.
Yeah, so just like it is today, in some spots, right? Like you have the existing 2-way turn lane. As you're approaching Glen,
Yep.
right, it just turns into a left turn lane. Same thing would happen with the painted median.
Got it. Okay.
So your assumption is that bottlenecking the traffic is going to calm it down and make it more reliable for citizens to cross?
No, that's not the intent. So there's plenty of capacity in the existing roadway section based on the
Okay.
amount of traffic we've shown.
Because looking at the IDOT map, War Drive has in excess of 25,000 cars a day, and by the time you hit Marietta, you're still about 10,000 cars a day going through there. So you're quite a few, you have quite a few cars going down that roadway. And so do you think that 1 lane in each direction will handle that?
Based on what we've seen from traffic counts, we use that data. We've got our own counts, right?
Okay.
We
What
also
are your
project.
counts?
What's that?
What do your counts show?
Do you know? Very similar to
Okay.
those ADTs. And then we projected them out. We worked with Tri-County using their
Sure.
So
So do you think this would reduce traffic? So do you think this would reduce traffic through the downtown area?
I don't know that it would reduce traffic. What we've seen in our modeling, it's very similar
Okay.
travel
I see-
times through the corridor.
Okay.
Right?
I see that we've taken into consideration a lot of the, how many pedestrians and bicycles and what have you going through there. But have we had this discussion, done any sort of business study or anything like that? Talked to the little businesses and seen what their thoughts are on having traffic reduced or bottlenecked through that area?
I don't know that we've had those discussions with them specifically in that regard. I think what businesses we have talked to is what issues they have seen out here so that we could come up with these alternatives to try to address that.
I can speak to that. Having been part of this project along with Trustee Reichert for quite some time, one of the thoughts that has been talked about with the businesses and with the engineers and different designers is that reducing the 5 lanes to 3 prevents drive-through traffic, and it creates more of a destination here for Peoria Heights. I think one of the problems in the early studies was that they recognized that Prospect was being used as like a cut-through, basically, from Ward Drive to something else. They weren't actually intentionally coming to the village of Peoria Heights as a destination. So I just remember that as part of our conversation.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Trustee Sanwino. I just want to know, before we get too deep into this, you need a direction from us by the end of this month as to if we would prefer one of these options.
Yes, that would be
And
great.
how do we communicate? I mean, that was going to be my question. What are the next steps here? Are we having a community?
I mean, we can work through Mark on that.
Yeah, and I guess I want to make sure that we really emphasize that A lot of the details we're talking about, the trees, all that, we're not talking about that, right? We're not making that decision. What they need at this point from the village by the end of the month is, like you said, where's that curb line? So we need to know if it's the 5-lane or the 3-lane, right? And then where does the parking, is it angled or parallel? Those are the two things, 5-lane versus 3-lane and the parking. Once they have that, they could present all the different alternatives of what does everything look like. But they can't get to that until this next step is made. So I think what I assumed that would be happening for the next month is the trustees would start to think about this, take a look at everything. If you have conversations but with business members, what have you, and then if there's any questions, start throwing them to me, and I'll start working with Hanson, Bryce to get everything back to you, and then hopefully within the next 4 weeks, by the end of that, there will be a consensus that we can provide to Hanson to keep going.
So I have a question. So if we have 2 lanes in each direction and 10,000 cars going through the area a day, how does that not create a bottleneck? Because you have, if we go to 2 lanes, then you have 10,000 cars only using 2 lanes to get through the same stretch of road.
So I'm going to yes. Hi, I'm Kurt Bresky. I'm the principal in charge of the project and actually a traffic engineer by trade. So I can kind of help you out. Done lots of complete street and these types of projects all across the country and whatnot. So anyway, the design standard here is about 14,000 cars would go into 2 lanes, 14,000 cars a day. Okay. And we're about 10,000, and we would project that that's going to go up slightly over the next 20 years. And so we would be, but probably not by 40%. That'd be quite a bit of growth. So there wouldn't be a bottleneck from that. Just as you look at it, from going from 10 to we can go up to 14, 15,000 with those 2 lanes, especially with having some turn lanes at some of the key intersections. So we're well within IDOT design standards, within walkable ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers design standards for walkable urban thoroughfares, those kinds of things, to go down and kind of repurpose this red space here, this red area, and not cause lots of travel. We won't even really cause any cut-through traffic to leave. It's going to probably maintain about where it is. They're not going to go anywhere else. It's still a shorter path. It's still, the travel time is going to be very similar. All of these things, when Bryce and his team looked at the travel demand modeling, it basically holds steady. There's no migration really.
Do you guys live locally?
Yes, I live locally.
Okay. So you're familiar with the traffic?
100%. Been here lots of times to have dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And actually, when you think about it, the section from Lake to War is heavier than up here. And so that one going to 3 lanes and working and doing that is really should be part of that indicator, is that, as we get further from Ward Drive, as Trustee Stinwood said there, if I said your name correctly, sorry about that. But as we move away further, there's less and less vehicles. But as we go from like maybe 14, 15, somewhere in there around Ward Drive and start getting up into like around 10 up in this area, so.
So I just have a quick question. The stoplight that is at Kelly there, right outside CVS, that was put in there at the request of CVS, I believe. Would that be something that we would put back in, or because we are going
We don't
down?
know yet.
Okay.
Some of that depends on what we decide with the curbs.
Okay.
What,
is that an
how we
option
want
to take
to,
that
what we
light
want.
away, just
Yeah,
to flow traffic
it could
away?
be. It could be. We haven't. Those decisions can't be made until we decide generally what the consistent parts of the corridor look like. Once we get to that point, then we can make that decision.
And the city of Peoria was on board with taking it to 3 lanes.
Their engineering staff was, yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, in our last meeting, I think with Mark Lee, he mentioned, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, they're committed at this point to reducing it to 3 lanes. Is that right?
Yes, I spoke with our city engineer, and that was the consensus. City of Peoria will be going to 3 lanes with a 10-foot multi-use path on the east side.
So thank you for this presentation. I think that one of the things that we're trying to get our heads around too is the reality that this is going to require a lot of partners in our federal government and our state partners as well, potentially, in a time where the federal government is shut down and, you know, there may not be a lot of appetite in Washington. So we're just trying to live with that reality, but I understand that you do need some direction from this board. And so, you know, I think we have a month to try to get that to you. And
yeah, and as far as that timeline goes, Mayor, we're 18 months from even being able to start trying to get funding. So as far as those things that are happening, we have to get through on the schedule phase here. What Bryce presented, we really, in order to be to really go out and start looking for money and for funding and from other sources, we have to get to the end of this this diagram here. And so you can see here, we still have a lot of public involvement to go through, select an alternative, do some preliminary design, and get those reports and things all done and signed off on by IDOT and through their FHWA liaison too. So we still got a ways to go. Yeah, it's important to make this decision, but it's what comes next that, you know, is where the fun really starts.
so how tip of the iceberg are we?
You're about it. You're getting towards to be able to see underneath what's going on. So we set this curb, and that's when things will. That's when we'll really get to start seeing what we can do and what positive changes can come about in the space. You know, because I think that what you can see from what Kathy and Bryce presented tonight, it's really about creating an even greater place. You know, something that people can even have more room to move about and to get there. Because from a commerce perspective too, you know, we're talking about converting vehicle and bike traffic to pedestrian traffic, because those are the patrons. Like, those are the people that are supporting small business, and that's really what our goal here is with this too. So, and doing that in a very positive way, and really giving them something to remember when they come down here.
Can I make a request? When it comes to the public involvement, I know there's going to be lots of meetings planned and things like that. And with other companies we've worked with before, sometimes it seems like there's a pretty tight turnaround on scheduling. So if we could have as much notice as possible so that we can get as many people there and as many of us can attend as possible, it would be greatly appreciated, because 7 to 10 days is not enough time, I think, for people to change their plans.
Sure. We'll keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Anything else, trustees? Mark?
I'm going to make one last comment on the funding. We are in an interesting political climate. Of course, everybody has seen the news. We are, when it comes to infrastructure, we get all of our funding right through the state, through IDOT, which of course is an Illinois-based entity and is controlled by Illinois politics. A lot of the funding that comes to IDOT is controlled by the federal government, which of course is different shade of color right now. So when it comes to funding and would this or would this not get approved, you just realize that there's two different entities that we are working with on that, and that you kind of have to make them both happy to get the funds. So you really can't look at this as, oh, well, this is anything to do with politics, because we're kind of, right now, when it's one or the other, you kind of have to please both, and when it's both the same color, you just please that one. So I guess our funding is kind of a neutral for us right now, because we don't have a political flavor right now that would push you one way or the other, because right now they're at odds, state versus federal. So just something to keep in the back of your mind, that it doesn't really going to come into effect for funding for this because of what's at play there.
Thank you, Mark. Anything else? Thank you all very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll move along, and on the agenda we have Chamber of Commerce updates. So I see President Cook there. Brian is here too.
So we have it under me and here.
Yeah, sure.
Right, so they're going to give an update and then we have discussion. I mean, I'm fine taking it offline and doing it now. I
Yeah, why don't we, yeah, on the agenda here, you're also mentioned under the proposal discussion. I think if you guys can just combine the updates and your proposal together
Oh,
at this
that was
point.
my plan.
Okay.
Yep, all right, perfect. Yeah, the updates are actually gonna be pretty quick and short tonight. First off, I wanted to thank you guys so much for all of your help with the Taste of the Heights. We had another wonderful, wonderful year. We're still trying to tally up all of the income and expenditures, but so far, our restaurant sales were $66,000 this year, which is a 25% increase from last year. Thank you. It's a 25% increase from last year, which last year was up 18% from the previous year. So we're growing exponentially in these events. I wanted to thank all of you guys for your help, for the police, for the public works. Really, we couldn't have done it without you guys, so thank you so much for that. So, moving on to my proposal. The Peoria Heights Chamber of Commerce is seeking an annual funding from the village to support the development of a mobile app and expand business development programs that strengthen our local economy and community. The app will feature interactive maps, real-time notifications, promoting businesses' sales, specials, and events, while also providing residents with important village information. In addition to the app funding, funding will be used to grow our new initiatives like our Lunch and Learns and Ask the Experts. These are free or low-cost educational programs designed to connect local entrepreneurs, residents, and business owners with expert knowledge and resources. Together, these efforts will enhance communication, support small business growth, and foster a more connected and resilient Peoria Heights. This app represents a major tool for both economic development and community engagement in Peoria Heights. By giving local businesses a direct channel to promote their sales events and specials through real-time notifications and an interactive map, the app encourages increased foot traffic and spending at locally owned establishments. We have a quick demo that we're going to run through with you guys so that you can see kind of what we're envisioning with this as well. All right, so this would be the projected home screen where it's going to have several of our different features where you can do businesses for dining, things to do, shopping, and events. These are just a couple examples. We didn't want to build in all, I think it's 55 Heights businesses into the app just for a demo. But it has it broken down into restaurants, shopping, and events. It has a live interactive calendar as well that people can post their own events, as well as an interactive map where you can click and zoom in and figure out how far you are from a local business or find some new ones that you didn't know were there. So under these categories, where to shop features all of the local businesses. We have some of the best shops in all of the Peoria area. This is going to go a long way to help promote them. Of course, we have the best restaurants in Peoria too, and that's mostly what we're known for. But right here you can see click to find the route, call to make a reservation, their website, menu, all of that is right on here, as well as a brief description of the restaurant. You can also favorite all of these as well. So that way you don't have to scroll through all 55 businesses to find the ones that you really like. Under the Events tab, you can find who's hosting events here in Peoria Heights, as well as fundraisers, links to directly buy tickets from those organizations or those businesses, along with maps and descriptions of the events. We want to make this as easy as possible for everyone using the app and for the business owners to be able to promote their items. This local tips section is a curated editorial content. It's constantly changing. It is something that we are moderating as well, where people can post, best places to eat in the Heights, best places to shop, best places to stay when you're in the Heights. Here is your deals section. This is where you can clip coupons from local businesses, see what their offers are, and redeem them in store or online as well. This is going to make it a lot easier to find out that one extra business that you weren't planning on stopping at, but has a great deal, and hopefully generate a lot more tax revenue as well. We're trying to get people to just go to one additional place while they're here, and that will translate into a massive increase in business revenue and tax revenue. This is the user section, so you can look at your favorite spots here, finding all of the ones that you favorited, so you can keep better track of the ones that you're really the most interested in. All right, and then we have loyalty card as well. This is one of our marketing promotions that we're looking at doing, where the more you check in at local businesses, the more points you accrue in exchange for, chamber merchandise or a chamber check or something like that you can turn around and use right back at these local businesses as well. You can also post pictures, reviews, videos, things like that. That is also moderated. We don't want a lot of random stuff getting through and getting posted on these. So this is something that we will actively be moderating as well to make sure that only high quality content goes into it. Yeah. And that's basically our demo. So I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to my proposal and field any questions that you guys have. I know I've met with most of you guys already, and those of you who I haven't, I'd love to meet with you in the next week or two before the vote for this. So,
thank you so much. I have two quick questions, if that's okay. One is on the restaurant tab, are you able to make a reservation through this app, or would you have to call or use like Open Table or something like that?
yeah, that's a good question. Do we have the capability to build that in?
Hi.
This is
Brian Michael.
Brian.
I work for Swarm Digital Solutions. We would be developing the app for the Chamber of Commerce. Every restaurant and business uses its own type of POS and reservation system. So it's really not possible to exactly integrate all their reservation systems, but we can link and embed their reservation systems into the app, working with them to give them permission. So what we want to do is offer, every user 1 or 2 clicks to exactly what they're looking for and they need.
Okay.
So there's a way to kind of integrate that, but not, there's not one reservation system for the app since every restaurant has their own flavor.
Okay. And then my second question has to do with the parks and the park district. So in like things to do in the Village of Peoria Heights, would you be working with the Peoria Park District to identify trails and that type of thing as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we absolutely want to have a partnership going forward with the village, with the park district, with the schools, and figure out what events are happening here in the Heights, not just business events, but local events as well, and have that as part of our interactive map. So part of the funding is going to hiring somebody to manage all of our social media as well as this app. That person would be the one responsible to reaching out to the village, reaching out to the park district, the schools, for example, the homecoming parade, getting more businesses involved in the local community and in the schools as well. So this will go a long way towards that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Cook, just a couple here. Now, the data that this app generates, would that belong to the chamber? Would that belong to Swarm? Would that belong to the Village of Peoria Heights?
That's a great question. So we are going to acquire a lot of data for this, and I see it personally as a partnership where you guys will need this data for tax increases, for population, for traffic flow, everything like that. And I mean, we'd be more than happy to share that as long as it doesn't cross any kind of privacy boundaries.
Now, as far as the contract for this app, would there be any geographic exclusivity for the Village of Peoria Heights to have this, or could this have an identical thing happening in a neighboring community?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're envisioning this as just a Peoria Heights thing. We're not here trying to promote businesses outside of Peoria Heights. We want to keep it strictly local. Now, the bones of this can obviously be used for other, cities, chambers, things like that, but that's not our purpose with it. Our purpose is just to promote local growth, local foot traffic, and sales.
And I like your idea of seeking partnerships with various, like Trustee Kazan, the Park District, the School District, Library.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about seeking any funding from those taxing bodies?
No, I have not. That's a great option.
I would like for it to also include our VFW, other organizations in our community as well.
Any other questions or comments?
So this will be put on the agenda to vote on at our next meeting.
What do you need from us as far as the village? What timeline? What do you need?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I believe it's on you guys' agenda at the next meeting to vote for this proposal. You guys also have a hard copy of our proposal inside of all of your packets. So really tonight was just presenting and making the official ask. Yeah, we're in the beginning stages of the app development. So as more ideas come in from you guys, this is what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to partner and make sure that this is the absolute best it can be. You know, we don't want to put in 10% effort. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here. We want to radically increase traffic to Peoria Heights.
And you're looking at this as an investment by the village to increase a tax base?
Yes, absolutely.
Since most of our money comes from sales tax.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, President Cook, and thank you, Brian and the Chamber for being here. Appreciate it. So, yes, you're welcome to stay, and this goes for Hanson as well, but you don't have to. Okay. So our next item on the agenda is old business. And under old business, we have ordinance 2025-1770, an ordinance adding new Article E to Chapter 3 of Title 3 of the Peoria Heights Village Code, implementing a municipal grocery tax. At the previous meeting, I was asked by two trustees to include this on the agenda. Before we get into this, Council, can you talk to us a little bit about how we arrived here and what the timelines are and kind of go through that?
So we're back on the agenda with this ordinance as a result of the mayor's veto. And like all sales tax ordinances adopted by municipalities, they take effect on 2 different days in the year, January 1, July 1. October 1st was the deadline for filing, so the ordinance has to be adopted and filed with the Illinois Department of Revenue by October 1 to make the January cutoff. The next deadline is April 1 to file for the July 1 cutoff. There was discussion about putting a ballot initiative out there. We have until December 29th, I believe, toward the end of the year, to get a ballot initiative together and a resolution adopted to put a ballot question out there. It's non-binding, but it gives the board and everybody, the whole community, an idea of where everybody stands on it. And then the municipal election is March 17, and the deadline is April 1. So that is very tight. It would have to be a special meeting to vote on the sales tax following the results of the March 17 election, but it's doable.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Council.
How would the residents receive that ballot? In their mail? In the mail?
It's
Or they would-
the election. You
vote on it
can
when
vote
you
by
elect.
mail,
Okay,
you can
I'm
early
sorry.
vote,
Thank you. Okay.
all the ways that you would vote for candidates.
Okay.
It's one of those questions that you see on the ballots every once in a
Yes,
while,
okay,
school
sorry.
taxes,
That makes perfect
things like
sense.
that.
Thank
Yep.
you, Council. So I wanted to, and I appreciate you highlighting that. So basically, the municipal board can adopt a resolution, just by resolution, to have an advisory referendum on the primary ballot. Now, this would have to be adopted by this board by December 29th, as Mark stated, 2025. And then it would need to be submitted to the Peoria County Election Commission by January 8th, 2026. Now, an example of a ballot question phrasing can be found in how the Village of Bensonville placed an advisory question on the ballot. What it stated was, shall the Village of Bensonville impose a 1% grocery tax, period, question mark. The primary election, like Mark stated, is March 17th. We could have a special meeting the very next day. And if the public's opinion is to have a grocery tax, we could have it to the Department of Revenue by the April 1st deadline. Basically, we lose nothing at this point by asking the citizens of Peoria Heights whether they want a grocery tax or not. We'd lose nothing. We can get it done. We ask them, do you want it or not? If they want it, then we'll pass it the next day. We'll send it down to Springfield to the Department of Revenue. If they don't, well, then we know what the village residents want. So I would urge you to allow our citizens the opportunity to place their opinion, to lodge their opinions. We lose nothing by asking them what they want in terms of time.
What's the process of this, Mayor? Are you asking for a motion to do that? What do we have to do based on the agenda to do that?
Well, we would need, if you want to overturn the veto, then you would make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-1770. If I do not hear a motion to do that, then I would say at our next meeting, we put on, if I hear it from 2 trustees, then I will put on the agenda to have a referendum on the primary ballot, and we need to just get that done by December 29th, but we'll have it on the next meeting if you'd like.
Let's do it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if that's the way that this board chooses to go, I do not feel comfortable at all waiting till December the 29th, because in historical situations, we've missed these deadlines before. So if this is the way this governing body is going to go, I think it needs to happen immediately.
Next meeting.
Next meeting?
Can we do it next meeting?
We can do it.
I mean, I'm not afraid of asking the taxpayers if they
No.
want more taxes. So let's have that question. That doesn't scare me one bit.
Okay, so I have 2 trustees that would like it on the next agenda. However, if you want to overturn my veto, this is the time to do it. There is no other time. So if you want to overturn my veto, this is the meeting.
So, I'm sorry.
No, go.
I apologize, sir.
No, I'm good. Go.
So if we don't overturn the veto,
Then we'll have,
we can still institute the tax either by the employee, but not employees, by the residents saying they want it.
by the April 1st deadline.
Right, which was what we're at anyway.
Correct.
And is it a binding, okay.
The question is an advisory question, but I think we would have the answer from our residents as to whether they want a grocery tax or not.
I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-1770.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
And we have a second to approve the ordinance 2025-1770.
I got questions. If we approve this ordinance,
Overturning veto.
it overturns your veto,
Yep.
but then we can we then still have this referendum question?
No, we could still have the question, but we will now send, if you approve this, overturn the veto, we will send the ordinance to the Department of Revenue, and the tax will be instituted April 1st. Nothing's preventing you from asking the question, but you will be adding the tax as of April 1st without asking the citizens of Peoria Heights.
But okay, so we do that, we add the tax, but if we still went through and did the March 17th election, we had the March 18th special meeting, we could then send it right there and still make the April 1st deadline to cancel it, should the public vote against the tax.
I I think we would send our ordinance as tomorrow that we just approved it. I don't know how the Department of Revenue would say we've reversed course.
I've never encountered that, but I have no reason to suspect that they would not honor rescinding an ordinance that was sent down. Just point of clarification, the tax would take effect July 1. It's either January 1 or July 1, so the April 1 is the
filing.
deadline to file it.
Right.
In order to hit the July 1. If you file it on April 2, it won't go into effect until the following January 1.
So what we find ourselves in is we're past the October 1st deadline.
Yep.
So the tax does not go into effect, even if we send it tomorrow, until July 1. So yes, so the motion on the floor is to approve ordinance 2025-1770, and that would do that, overturn the mayor's veto without asking the citizens of Peoria Heights.
And the citizens of Peoria Heights would not pay tax with that approval until July.
Right.
First, that's correct. Yeah.
Regardless.
Regardless, so why not ask them?
And then we ask them, and they say yes or no, and then we still have plenty of time to change it after
Correct.
that.
So if they say yes, at that point, this vote doesn't matter. If they say no, this vote tonight does not matter.
Correct. We can do whatever we want.
I believe there was already an ordinance requested in a second.
Yeah, we're discussing the
Yeah.
ordinance.
I'm just making sure that I understand where we're at.
The motion is on the floor.
Yeah.
So, help me understand this, Mayor. So irregardless, the tax isn't coming in until July 1st.
Correct.
The citizens will not pay this new tax until July 1st.
Correct.
So if we wait and we uphold your veto and we ask them and they say, yeah, we want it, we can still have that same tax.
Yes.
July 1st.
If we have a meeting on, like Trustee DeVore said, the day after, and we pass a grocery tax, we'll get that, as long as it's postmarked by April 1st, then the Department of Revenue will accept it.
So if the tax is going to be effective July 1st, no matter what, then what harm is asking the citizens what they want?
Okay.
Like, to force this ordinance now, when we have an opportunity to ask the citizens, do you want to be taxed? I mean, that's a no-brainer. Because irregardless, if we decide to ultimately do it, it's still July 1st. If we decide not to, it's still, it's still July 1st. So why not get more information from our citizens, the constituents we were sitting here to represent? They're going to tell us whether they want this tax or not. And then if we still want to tax them, even though they don't want it, we still have that, we can still do that. This changes nothing. All this does is give us time to ask the citizens of Peoria Heights what they want. And this board, historically, has leaned in that direction anyway. So now we have that opportunity.
So I do have one question. If we overturn your veto and the citizens say yes, it goes in effect, we don't have to send anything down to the state.
We would have already done it.
It's already done.
Yeah.
So the only rush would be is if they tell us no. If it comes out no, then we'd have to just get it down there. So we would just.
It's
No, we
same
can't cancel.
either way.
Yeah.
We can,
Oh, we got it.
yeah. We just have to file before.
Yeah,
April
but we
1st.
wouldn't have to have a special meeting because we've already agreed it if they said yes. We wouldn't have to have that special meeting to have it set down. It would just have to be sent down.
Correct,
Or nothing would have to change.
correct.
So that would avoid a special meeting, if anything.
Mayor, I think everyone knows how I feel about the tax, and I'm not going to put everyone through that again. But I think this is an excellent opportunity to do something this board has always advocated for, and that is talking to our constituents. And it changes nothing. It changes absolutely nothing. So I would hope that this board would uphold your veto for now, wait to hear from the citizens, and then decide on our next move.
I just want to add, I am ready to vote tonight, but I am listening to what Trustee Reichert is saying. If we vote tonight and we still have it on the ballot, which I am in favor of, so we know what our residents are looking for and want, we still can change it at that time as well. So in my opinion, we should vote on it tonight and have it on the ballot.
So my question is, let's say we do take this to the voters. Who determines the language of the question
do.
asked? I mean,
We do.
okay, so then we have to vote on the language of the question And
Yes.
I assume it's not going to be, do you want more tax? I think it's going to be a little more.
I think the way that the Village of Bensonville wrote it was, shall the Village of Bensonville impose a 1% local grocery sales tax? That was it, question mark. So, again, I would say if we have a motion and a second on the floor, if we vote to approve and overturn the veto, then you're right, we'll impose the tax, we'll send it off. I'll have Clerk Turner send that off to Springfield tomorrow, and then we can ask the citizens, do you like it? Or you lose nothing, you ask the citizens, do you want a tax? And then you impose it if they want it or not. That is up to this board.
I'm ready to vote.
Are there any other questions or concerns on this issue? Okay, hearing none. The motion is to overturn the mayor's veto and pass ordinance 2025-1770. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
No.
Trustee Reichert?
Sorry. No.
With that vote, the mayor's veto is overturned. And we will pass the grocery tax, and it will be sent to the Department of Revenue tomorrow.
And then, Mayor, the next meeting sorry.
That's where I was going. Go ahead. No, you're fine.
The next meeting, can we have the verbiage and the resolution to add this question?
So just so I understand, now that this is passed, you still want to ask the voters if they want this?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if
we will get that on the agenda for next week, or next meeting.
Thank you.
Moving on, we're down to Resolution 2025-15, a resolution approving City of Peoria Fire Department automatic aid agreement. Trustee Steinwaddle?
I make a motion to approve this.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Steinwaddle, seconded by Trustee Kazam. Trustee Steinwaddle?
I would like to let Kazam lead this discussion off regarding this.
I just have a few comments. I generally don't write down my comments in advance, but this is an incredibly crucial, important topic, and so I did that this evening. There's no doubt in my mind that voting for this plan is 100% what we should be doing. People who do not recognize the importance of this, I simply cannot understand it. There is a very dangerous game being played with the lives of our residents and visitors to our community. One of the things that makes our community so popular and so desirable to move to for both residents and businesses is our commitment to safety. We provide a safe place for people to be at all hours of the day and night. Not recognizing or choosing to ignore the importance of this referendum flies in the face of that commitment. As a board, we have made it clear that we support our fire department and our firefighters. By passing this, we are doubling down on our commitment to training for our existing firefighters and are protecting them in the line of duty. Some people are more concerned with fictitious coup or hostile takeover of the fire department, and this is not a deep fake as it has been suggested in some online platforms. This board has made it very clear that we are committed to retaining, supporting, and improving our department, and most importantly, putting safety of our citizens at the utmost importance.
Okay. Is there any other comments on this resolution?
I have comments, if I may.
Of course.
When I received the agenda, the resolution, and I hope everyone understands what the explanation of a resolution is, it's a legal agreement. I read it, and I want to say, Chief Artis, I appreciate your time with the presentation. I respect what you do. I want to share that there were holes in it. We then discussed, a few of us had conversation, and noticed that there's some revisions that needed to be added, amendments. Then after those amendments were discussed, other holes were still in it, and I was not convinced. I do not believe that this is a good idea to move forward at this time. I'd like to put the brakes on. I have some thoughts here, and I wrote my thoughts down as well because I don't want to ramble and take too much of everybody's time, but it is very important to me. Number one, I'd like to see a fire chief hired. Again, it was mentioned at the last meeting that it would be nice to have a fire chief hired and to work alongside Chief Artis, and that's something that we have not done yet. So these are fundamental, that are needed in my eyes before I can even agree to anything with going with a resolution with Peoria at this time. We need to talk to our fire department. What do they want? What's their opinion? The personnel, the volunteers. I believe that we also need to talk to our local volunteer fire department chiefs. That would be the other communities and our past chiefs. What works? What didn't work? Get back to a volunteer hybrid department, not a career mentality department. Things that I want to talk about is training, communication, grants, recruitment. I know that there's been articles in the paper in the past that Peoria is also having a hard time with recruitment. They added to the amendment that they were going to train our guys. If you train our guys, are you going to recruit them and take them to Peoria? These are just thoughts that I've had written down, folks, so there's a few more that I want to discuss. Training. Why are we not attending Washington, October 25th, coming up here in October 2026, $17 per person CPR class? Are we signed up for that?
Are there any, is that
It is a question. If you'd like to answer it, please.
I'd be happy
If you
to.
would, please.
We just got done sending, I believe, four members through the EMS CPR class, so we're all certified CPR.
Wonderful.
So no, we are not sending anyone there.
Okay. Mid-Illini Fire had classes in April. Did we participate in those? No.
I'm sorry, what was class?
Mid-Illini Fire had classes. I don't have that listed. I'm just listing some items here on my list, and I can refer back to my other notes. But briefly, I want to say ice rescue in Fox Lake, Wisconsin. Did we attend that? Limestone Fire, IFSI, Cornerstone Class Basic, aerial operators, Bartonville, Pontiac, to name a few, participated. Did we participate? I know Dunlap let them use their aerial truck. Central Illinois Fire Society Annual Investigations Association 34th Annual Training is February 27th, 28th, and March 1st of 2026 at the Holiday Inn Suites at Grand Prairie. Are we going to that?
Trustee, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
I think we all get your point, but one thing, no, and I understand.
Yeah.
The only thing I would like to say is, we don't have a tremendous amount of attendance at the training we put on here because of people's time, because of people's other activities.
Yeah.
So I know Chief Sentes does an excellent job of putting the training that he comes across his desk out there, but the reality is we're not getting standing room only at our own training.
Okay. And I'm not negating what you guys do because I really do appreciate. I stand behind our fire department and I will always stand in front of them as well. If I may continue, how about the citywide disaster drill that's held at the airport? That was in June 2025. Did we attend that? No. Let's move on to grants. Give me a specific date, council, if we may. When are we no longer on probation to apply for grants, please?
It's my understanding that your penalty phase equates to the amount of time you are deficient, in which case it would be 5 months.
And the date exactly, please, from that date?
We became compliant I got here June 6th. We became compliant, I believe, 10 days after that was when I ended up able to get all of the NIFRs uploaded to their site. So it would be, again, roughly around June, probably 20th. That's just a guess. So it would be 5 months from that date.
Okay. So we're looking at November. Okay. I want to read some grants that are out there that I know November is right around the corner, and I hope that we start getting the paperwork done now. Most of these grants that I'm going to mention this evening are about $10,000 or more. If I may, and bear with me guys, because I know it's a long list, but I want you to be prepared to know that we have fundamentals and options out there for our local fire department that we need to get back to and start getting on board with. Volunteer fire assistance is a grant. State Farm has a grant. Fire Chief has a grant. Leary Firefighters Foundation Goal. There's Firefighters Charitable Foundation Grant. FM, which is Fire Marshal Global Fire Prevention Grant. FEMA Safer Program. FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant. Illinois Department of National Resources. Office of State Fire Marshal is a grant. FEMA Fire Prevention and Safety Grant. Department Homeland Security Grant. Illinois Small Equipment Grant. I can go on, folks. Firehouse Subs Grant. Illinois Fire Station Construction and Rehab Grant. Gary Sinnis, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Foundation. Community Wildlife Grant. Lowe's Fire Department Grant. Dickey Foundation. Lieutenant Joseph DiBernardo Memorial Grant. Enbridge Safe Community First Responder Grant. That's quite a bit, folks. That's 21 grants that we need to get on board with. So, communication. I also want to mention that I personally do not appreciate being told incorrect information that was used to persuade me to vote tonight. OSHA does not have the jurisdiction under the OSHA Act to close our fire department doors if we had a terrible incident occur to one of our fire personnel. God forbid. I do not want anything to happen to anybody. I feel safe in my home. I just want to mention that OSHA can't close us down and push us to Peoria as we are a volunteer organization. In closing, again, I know it's a lot of information, but I want to share my thoughts with you folks to let you know that I will not stand to sign a resolution with so many holes in it at this moment. We've had only a couple days to try to figure this out and then create another resolution. Then we got to come up with other information. And I just think we need to put the brakes on and consider it more and start utilizing these resources that we already have. I'm asking everyone on this board to give us time, give me time to do the due diligence owed to our community and our fire department, to do the right thing. I feel pretty safe again in my home. I have faith in our fire department, and I have faith in the process if you allow more time to get back on track using these fundamentals. I feel we can do great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Simmons. Is there any other comments on this resolution?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment.
Of course.
And kind of give my point on this. Let's set this record straight. This decision tonight is not about whether or not we're going to keep our fire department. We are going to keep our fire department. We will stand up the best fire department we absolutely can. When I took this office, I took an oath to give everything I could to make sure our firefighters have the tools, the support, and the protection they need to succeed. And tonight, I'm keeping that oath. Our fire department is going nowhere. We will not, let me repeat, we will not turn our fire department over. We will continue to govern ourselves. This conversation isn't about losing control. It's about one thing, saving lives. The question before us is simple. Is the current MABUS mutual aid system enough? Or would an automatic aid agreement with the city of Peoria better protect our citizens and our firefighters? There are some facts that we just can't ignore. Under national standards, specifically the NFPA 1720, a municipality of our size and population density should have 15 firefighters on scene within 9 minutes, 90% of the time. When that call comes in today, we have 2. That's it. 2 firefighters standing between life and death. Here's how our system works right now. A Peoria Heights firefighter is dispatched first. Based on what they see or what information they get on the way, they can request Peoria's help. Only then does Peoria dispatch 1 truck. They also have a battalion chief. After that, our 3rd and 4th responding departments are West Peoria, Dunlap, and a whole host of other departments from that area. Average close to 30 minutes to arrive in Peoria Heights. That system doesn't work. That system kills people. That system has already proven itself to be too slow. I can't ignore what I've read in reports and what I've seen in the cases from around our county. I can't ignore a 95-year-old woman found just feet from the back door on New Year's Eve hiding under her kitchen table long after the fire was out. I can't ignore a 4-year-old boy sleeping on a sofa who witnesses said they could still hear screaming from inside the home as he burned alive, while his father stepped outside to take the dog out. I can't ignore a university soccer player trapped and dying because there wasn't enough firefighters on scene fast enough to pull him out. These are not statistics. These are human beings. These are the lessons we are learning in blood. And every single one of them proves that when seconds matter, the difference between mutual aid and automatic aid is the difference between life and death. For approximately an estimated $54,000 a year, Peoria Heights can enter into an automatic aid agreement with the city of Peoria. That means when a call comes in for a structure fire, a cardiac arrest, or vehicle crash with entrapment, Peoria is automatically dispatched. No request, no delay. They are already en route. This will cut response times from around 30 minutes, hopefully down to 6 to 8, protect our citizens and firefighters, and deliver the best medical outcomes possible. Peoria is in the top 5% nationally of departments that are able to treat a cardiac arrest and keep them neurologically intact. That means when your loved one collapses, the best chance at surviving is having that Peoria crew automatically en route automatically en route the moment the call goes out, with our Peoria Heights Fire Department leading the charge. What this agreement does and doesn't do, this agreement keeps the Peoria Heights Fire Department intact, keeps command and control right here in Peoria Heights, protects the firefighters and our residents, and it saves lives. It does not give up our independence. It does not cost us control of our department. It simply gives our firefighters and our people the help they need when they need it most. The moral choice is before us. If we choose not to move forward with this, then I have to ask, how many human beings need to be burned alive before we admit that this is not acceptable? I feel that this is about ego, because that's exactly what it's about. This is not about the money. It's already in the budget. This is not about control. Our department stays ours. This is about ego, plain and simple. We have a chance right now to do the right thing, to give our firefighters the tools, training, and backup they deserve, and to give our citizens the level of protection they expect from us, and that we have an obligation to provide. Let's not wait until this tragedy forces this decision upon us. Let's act because it is right, because every minute matters, and because every life counts. I will also turn your attention to during my research of this and due diligence under this ordinance, I'll turn you to a complaint for litigation filed on behalf of the mother of that 4-year-old that burned in the fire. And there's a couple things I'd like to point out in this. Each one of you has a copy of this, and I'll provide it for the media and anybody else that'd like to see a copy of this. This incident took place on July 17, 2018. The father's name was Mr. Bankus. At the aforementioned time and place, Mr. Bankus stepped outside to walk his dog. At the aforementioned time and place, the decedent, they call him John Doe in this because he's a minor, was napping on the couch. At the aforementioned time and place, the decedent, John Doe, was napping on the couch when Mr. Bankus was outside with his dog and the house caught fire. At the aforementioned time and place, it took Bartonville Fire Department volunteers approximately 8 minutes to arrive to their fire station after they received the 11:41 a.m. call. At the aforementioned time and place, it took the Bartonville Fire Department volunteers approximately 8 minutes to arrive to their fire station. 8 minutes to arrive to their fire station. At the aforementioned time and place, it took the Bartonville Fire Department volunteers approximately another 4 minutes to arrive to their fire. At the aforementioned time and place, it would have taken the Peoria Fire Department approximately 8 minutes total to arrive from their fire station. At the aforementioned time and place, the house burned down completely in approximately 17 minutes total. At the aforementioned time and place, defendant Village of Bartonville, through its employees and/or agents, had the duty not to commit willful and wanton conduct in responding to a fire. I'd also like to point out the fact, under Section 22 of this, John Doe, the deceased, left the following next of kin: his mother, his father, his 4 brothers, and a sister still in gestation. I'll then turn your attention to number 35 in this complaint. At the aforementioned time and place, there was in existence 70 ILCS 705/11, which states that any fire protection district, and then parentheses, has the legal duty and obligation to provide as nearly adequate protection from fire for all persons and property within the said district as possible. Number 36 says, at the aforementioned time and place, defendant Village of Bartonville, both directly and through its agents and/or employees, committed willful and wanton conduct in violation of the duty as set forth in 70 ILCS 705/11. You can read through this and see the complaints filed. You can read through this and see the lessons that we're learning here. Tonight, I'm going to be placing my vote. I'm going to be protecting my children. I'm going to be protecting my community. And I'm going to do what I think is right to protect our firefighters. For this amount of money, I don't think that any human life is worth that. It is worth not paying that money. We need to protect everyone that we can in this village. And I'd also like to, if Chief Artis would like to speak on this, I'd like to give him free access to speak on my behalf. He is the subject matter expert, and he is our fire chief, and he is a qualified individual to do so. He's had 30 years' experience with one of the largest downstate departments.
Thanks, Trustee. The only thing, if I may, just to address some of the comments that were made by the previous speaker. And again, I respect everybody's opinion and everybody's concern about this. It certainly would have been nice knowing that I have made myself available 24/7 to any questions or concerns, yet people wait until this venue rather than at least giving me the opportunity to discuss some concerns, and that's unfortunate. What I will say is we can talk about all of this training that's available. We can talk about all these grants that's available. Does that, or how does that address the issue of backup? How does that address the issue of response time? How does that address the issue of the safety of the citizens, your citizens, and the safety of our firefighters? How does that training add manpower, add response times, or lessen response times, anything? Because it doesn't. It doesn't. And as far as there being holes in this, we tried to address those with the amended resolution. And then lastly, as far as Peoria trying to recruit Peoria Heights firefighters, just for the record, and we discussed this in the meetings, The ones who have aspirations to become career firefighters don't need recruiting. They're leaving. We're seeing it. We've lost 4. We're getting ready to lose another one. Peoria doesn't need to recruit them. If they actually have a desire to be a career firefighter, they're going to be a career firefighter. Thank you. Just one more thing. I'm very sorry. This is it, and I apologize. But we talked about, or there was some discussion about reaching out to the other volunteer fire chiefs. And if I may ask Chief Ahart a question real quick.
Yes, of course, Chief.
Chief, if some of these other departments, whether it's Bartonville PD, Sheriff's Department, Chillicothe PD, if they decided that they were only going to send one officer to a domestic disturbance call, would you follow suit?
No, sir. No, sir.
And the reason being?
Officer safety.
Officer safety. Last question. If one of your officers was going to conduct a felony traffic stop, whether it's because they suspected the vehicle was stolen or was used in the committing of a crime, would they call Bartonville PD, Chillicothe PD, or would they say, we need the closest units?
We would request the closest unit for backup.
And the reason being?
Officer safety.
Okay, so you wouldn't just go along with what other departments are doing just because they're doing it?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, chiefs. Any other question or comments on this?
Naturally, Mayor, I do. And I hope you'll give me some latitude, because I've got a lot of notes and a lot of questions.
I think I've given everybody a lot of latitude.
Thanks,
so
Mayor.
Go right ahead.
So, so I'll start off by saying, Mayor, colleagues, residents, we're here tonight to discuss a proposal that is, quite frankly, unprecedented. I've looked, and you will not find another town in Illinois that has chosen to solve its challenges, which these challenges that Trustee Steinwittel mentioned are not unique to Peoria Heights. The entire state operates the way we do for the most part. You know, there's Chicago, Peoria, you know, the big cities, you know, they have the career departments, but for the most part, finding volunteers or finding staff to staff fire departments is an issue that most departments are struggling with. And I've looked, and you will not find another town that has chosen to solve its challenges by writing a blank check to a larger city for fire service. Every other community relies on a proven cooperative system of mutual aid. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but that is essentially how the state of Illinois operates. Yet here we are being asked to approve a contract that is unprecedented, unusual, and unbelievably expensive. A contract with no cap and no protection for our taxpayers. We all know the city of Peoria is probably about a $400 million black hole when it comes to tax dollars. This isn't just a new idea. It's a risky experiment that would make us dependent on another city for our most crucial emergencies, and dependency is the opposite of true sustainable public safety. You know, I know how the vote's going to go tonight, but I would just ask us to ask ourselves, you know, before we walk down this unprecedented path, that we owe it to ourselves to ask, you know, why is the standard procedure, standard operating procedure of majority of departments in the state of Illinois, a system that protects every other community, suddenly not good enough for Peoria Heights? Last meeting I mentioned, you know, what Chief Artis and Chief Ahart were just talking about, you know, sending just two men on a fire truck is not something I support. A little history lesson that when I took this seat in 2019, we had Chief Walters, who was primarily running all of our calls. It was just Chief Walters in the truck most of the time. And this board acknowledged that times were changing and we had to change with it. So from 2019 to now, we grew this fire department 300% and put 2 men on a truck I'm not saying that's the safest option. I'm not saying that's where we need to be forever, but we did it without a single tax increase. We did it without paying Peoria. I would personally like to see 3 people on a fire truck. So when we say that the money is in our fire budget to send to the city of Peoria, that doesn't put another firefighter on our trucks. It doesn't solve the issue. So Mayor, if we do go down this road of, contracting with the city of Peoria, I really feel that money should come out of the general fund and not the fire department, because I don't think our fire department needs starved of fundings. Trustee Steinwell has mentioned several meetings that our trucks are in dire condition. We can't get to the scene with Peoria if our trucks don't work. So I do not think that a cent should come out of the fire budget, if there's room or not, and sent to the city of Peoria. If there's money in our fire budget that's just sitting there collecting interest, we should have a 3rd person on the fire truck, or a 4th person. I had mentioned the other day that, to Chief Artis, that I would prefer to see 3 people in the fire truck, and I think we agreed on that. But then he said, well, that doesn't solve the issue of backup. The Village of Peoria Heights is never going to have a fire department like Peoria. Okay? We've gone from having no one available to having 2 people available. We've massively increased safety. I get it, we're not all the way there. But it seems like there's some people on this board and in this community where all roads lead to Peoria. No matter what we do, all roads lead to an agreement with Peoria. I don't think that's the right way to go. And talking about the upcoming deadlines for ballot questions on the, March 17th
Yes.
election?
Yes.
Mayor, on this next meeting, I would also like a non-binding question that asks the citizens of Peoria Heights, should we pay Peoria for fire service? It's non-binding. We can put it on there and to see what the citizens say.
Yeah, so I will caution you, and just so you know, we get 3 ballot questions. So.
I'm not looking for a 3rd. I just
Okay,
want a second.
So just so you know, you get 3 per election
No,
cycle.
I'm not looking for a 3rd, Mayor. And I do have some amendments to this resolution. But I didn't know if any of the other trustees had comments, so I didn't want to get down the rabbit hole of amendments before we had comments finished.
I have a few comments just to follow up on some of the things that were said already. First of all, Trustee Simmons, I agree with you. We should be looking at all of those grants, and I think that your research is great.
Thank you.
But we have an urgency, a sense of urgency right now, that while we continue to figure this out, and with all due respect, some of the people on this board have been trying to figure this out for some time, we have to provide safety to our residents and the visitors to our community. In this referendum, we will have quarterly quarterly reports. We will be able to assess the situation. We will be able to assess the expense to the village. I don't think it's fair to characterize this as a blank check to Peoria. And I also don't think it's fair to characterize anybody on this board that think all roads lead to Peoria. I really don't believe that that's true, actually, out of anyone on this board. So I just wanted to say those things, and I think that's all for right now.
Just a follow-up question, Mayor. Is there any cap on what we're going to pay Peoria?
Based on this document
Yes.
in front of it? I'll ask legal for legal's interpretation, but
No.
No.
It's limited by the number of structure fires, the number of accidents involving extrication, and the number of cardiac arrests.
So
in all budgets, though, there's a projection, and this number was devised by actual statistics and actually the number of fires we have historically.
I've not seen that documentation. And, when you give the city of Peoria a payment that is not capped, I think, I don't like to speak in absolutes, but I think most people would consider that a blank check.
Are you saying that they're somehow going to dictate the amount of fires that we have?
No, I'm just saying it's a blank check.
Okay.
And then,
I would like to point out one thing in this. You keep referring to a contract with
Just
Peoria.
a second, Trustee Steinwaddle. So I do want to have one speaker at a time.
Sure.
Trustee Weisenberg, were you done? Is it okay for trustees?
A few more questions,
Okay.
Mayor.
So-
So under
Trustee
the
Douglas.
current resolution, it was $5,500 for an involved structure fire. Is that per truck or per incident? The resolution doesn't say.
You mean like
That's-
on a full involved?
It's per
It's clearly per incident.
Per incident.
Yes.
It didn't say that, but, okay. I think I'm done, Mayor, for right now, until the amendments.
Okay, yeah, we'll have plenty of time tonight. Trustee Steinwaddle?
I'd like to point out one thing of clarification on this. I know Trustee Weisenberg, with the best intent, he was referring to this as a contract. This is not a contract. This is an agreement. This is an agreement to pay a service provider, just like any of the other service providers we have, such as if we buy bulletproof vests for the fire department, if we buy squad cars, if we buy fire trucks. This is an agreement to pay and a price that we're going to pay for these services. One thing I would like to say, and it just baffles me, is that you claim that this is expensive. We have $2 million that just went out this summer to replace lead lines in the village to make sure somebody doesn't get sick from the water. Yet here we are looking at $54,000 to prevent somebody from dying, from burning alive, dying of a heart attack, hopefully, or getting them out of their car wreck. I would like to ask if there's anybody that you see in this room that you think is not worth $5,500 to save.
Counsel, I got a question for you. When it comes to a contract or an agreement, they're both legal binding agreements, correct?
Yes.
So it's just a semantic distraction to kind of pick.
I think my understanding of the distinction that's being made here is a term for a year. We're going to, pay X amount, you're going to deliver. This does not authorize anything that is not terminable on a minute's notice. All we have to do is say we're done.
Thank you.
So I think that's the distinction that's being made.
Thank you.
Can I ask Chief Artis a question? What is the difference between pulling the Mavis box and having Peoria respond compared to what we're talking about tonight?
Trustee, just to be clear, the difference between the Mavis system as compared to automatic aid. Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the difference is first off, the amount of time it takes to get those various machines on the way. Because as it was discussed previously, the way the current system works is, let's say Peoria Heights is toned out for a structure fire. And let's pretend that it takes the firefighters a minute and a half for turnout time, meaning to get dressed, go on the way, get more information. So we're looking at from the time that the fire starts to the time that they get rolling is probably going to be around 2.5 minutes-ish, just because of to factor in dispatch. So that's when they'll get information, determine whether it's by the police officer on the scene or the dispatch getting multiple calls. And I apologize, this is taking some time, but I just want to be clear. To determine that it's a working fire. That's when the officer in charge or the senior firefighter who's on the machine will pull a Mavis card. And that's when they'll pull that card, dispatch will look, one machine from Peoria with the battalion chief, one machine from West Peoria, one machine from Dunlap, and one machine from Chillicothe. So it's a matter of, pardon me?
One machine,
From
anywhere that may be.
That's the way it's set up now. That's correct.
Including Peoria that has
Yep.
many at their disposal. Is there a possibility of more than one being sent if need be?
So how these cards are created is dictated by the chiefs of the various departments.
Okay, so my next question, follow-up to that is let's pretend that police arrive on scene, they call in a structure fire, based on what they see, but it ends up being a false alarm. Are we charged for Peoria, the automatic aid, because we've dispatched them to come to this false alarm?
Not $5,500. If the machines get rolling and the officer on the scene or officer arrives on the scene and says, hey, this is just food on the stove, or this was burnt popcorn or whatever it may be. Burnt popcorn's a bad scenario, but let's say food on the stove, where there is a possibility of perhaps extension into the cabinets or into the wall. It's infrequent, but it does happen. Peoria would still send an engine and a battalion chief, and so it would be $1,500.
So 55 if they get there and there is a big problem, but 1,500 if they get there and there's nothing to do.
Correct.
What if they're canceled en route?
Well, if we're not, or if Peoria is not going to be responding to fire alarms or anything of that nature. So the only thing they're going to be, if this passes, of course, the only thing that they would be dispatched to with regards to EMS would be structure fire. That comes in as a structure fire, reported structure fire. Officer drives by and sees smoke coming from a building. So in any of those cases, even if the officer says, hey, it doesn't look like it's much, it's smoldering rubbish, or it's food on the stove, just because of the potential, they would still send a battalion chief and an engine company.
So I'm sorry. Can you just give me a rough guesstimate of how many false alarms we had last year?
Trustee, do you mean false alarms with regards to actual?
To fires.
To fires.
Yes.
I don't have that information for you. I will say that I've been here 4 months. We've had 2. Well, let me say this. We've had 2 reports of smoke in a structure. One ended up being a blower motor, and there actually was smoke, but it was a blower motor. The second ended up being, and this was probably about 01:30, 02 o'clock, came in as a structure fire, and it was a gentleman who was cooking food, left it unattended, and it did have a small fire that we were a little concerned that it had breached the cabinets or one of the walls. So there's been 2 since I've been here. Again, if you average that out, it'd be 12.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. 8.
8 for the year?
8 roughly.
Okay,
math.
so my point, I guess, to asking these questions is I know what Trustee Weisenberg is going to be presenting as the amendments for tonight. I am still going to vote against this, but I like the amendments to it. So I support it to an extent of us having a little bit more government control over it, that if, looking at the numbers right now, like for them to be dispatched, I understand it takes gas, it takes manpower, it takes away from things. I just wanted to be clear that the safety of Peoria Heights has always, for generations in my family, been a top concern. So my voting against this is not anything to do with that so much as just trying to see when we hire a new chief, what his perspective and everything. I don't want to make all his decisions for him ahead of time. But I also, like I said, Trustee Weisenberg's amendments, I fully agree, give us just a little bit more control over it.
I have a question.
Sorry, so Trustee Reichert, just so I understand, you are in favor of these upcoming amendments. However, even if amended, you're not in favor of the overall?
Yeah.
Okay.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Just a curious question here, Chief Artis. If we have, God forbid, an extrication, and Peoria is dispatched out to assist, what I wanted to know is that we get charged the $3,500. Will Peoria also be claiming against the victim's insurance as well?
My initial I don't think so, because it's Peoria Heights jurisdiction. Now, in the city of Peoria, it's my understanding that they do now charge out-of-town residents for that. Considering this is Peoria Heights, and I will get a definitive answer for you, okay. But considering it's Peoria Heights jurisdiction, similar to what we talked about last meeting with regards to whose fire would it be, if it's Peoria Heights. Anything that happens in Peoria Heights is Peoria Heights. We're just here, Peoria is just there strictly for support and safety.
Thank you.
No.
I just want to say, like, there's a lot of differences of opinions on how we arrive to safety, but I don't think anyone sits up here that doesn't have the best interest of the firefighters, the village residents, visitors, anything. Like, I think we all are shooting for the same thing. And I'll be the first one to say that maybe this board or the previous board, you know, we didn't make the perfect decision, but at the time we made the decisions that we thought were correct. Like Trustee Simmons has said, you know, like we should be looking into additional trainings and additional grants. I think we all agree on that. I think as a group, though, we can provide this safety right now and continue to grow our department. Trustee Weisenberg has stated we have made strides in increasing the department 300%. We've increased the personnel. I think we can continue on that path as well as provide safety right now in the meantime. I know myself have worked with Trustee Weisenberg a lot to really fight for this department and keep it here and keep it strong. So no matter how this vote goes, I think that we need to keep in mind that the mutual goal of this group is to provide public safety and to work as a united front, even if the roads to get there look different.
Well said.
Mayor, could I say, I apologize, but it's something that was germane to Trustee Simmons' question.
Absolutely, Chief.
And just to remind everyone, and we discussed this not only in the meetings we had together, but also I believe we discussed at last board meeting, is it's ironic that when it comes to vehicle extrications, the way the MABUS system, the previous chiefs of Peoria Heights set up the MABUS response was entirely Peoria. And so, again, I've said this, it begs to ask, how come it was recognized for vehicle extrications to have the quickest response possible, yet when it comes to fires, that it's not the case? And I still haven't gotten an answer on that one from, and I don't expect, don't get me wrong, I don't expect it from you, but how you can't look at that and question is curious.
Just to comment on that real quickly, Chief Artis. When I got elected in 2019, that was one of the questions that we were presented with, that, Peoria wasn't first on our card. And I know I supported Peoria being the first on the card. I don't think any of us up here ever supported Peoria not being the first person we call. That has never been, I opposed our fire department becoming Peoria, but I never said that we should not be calling Peoria. And when Sean Solberger was here, him and I were discussing, and during that discussion, it wasn't necessarily that Peoria was upset that they were coming to assist us. They were upset that they weren't called sooner, because the longer it takes, the more dangerous it is for the firefighters. So I think I speak for all of us up here when I said that we've always wanted to work with Peoria and call Peoria when we need help. It wasn't never, I don't know why the MABUS cards were like that. I can't explain that.
Yeah, and I hope I didn't come across as insinuating that I thought it was your all's decision for that. That's clearly on the chief's side. They're the ones that determine the MABUS response.
Right.
I just found, so I didn't want to insinuate that. The question remains is how come it's important to have a quick response time for vehicle extrications, but it's not for fire? That was my point.
Is it Peoria first now?
One machine.
Okay.
I would also like to point out that MABUS still is in effect, whether we have this or not. For example, if we had the Nature Center catch fire and we need all trucks on hand, they're still there. That is still in play. What this does is this takes our response time down to a survivable window for the victims. What this does is it reduces the time and and hopefully limits our liability and puts enough people on scene that we give our citizens the absolute best chance of survival. And I think that everybody up here has that as their goal. Does this add a little bit of money out of pocket? Yes, but we don't have the trucks to reciprocate this to Peoria. If we had the ability to send enough trucks to reciprocate what they're doing for us, I would say do it. But we simply don't have the manpower to do it. We can't afford it. But what we can afford is to reciprocate some money in place of the trucks that they're giving us. If we're going to be using Peoria as our first option, which I believe we should, because to me, if we're having a fire department send a modified semi-truck, which is what a fire engine is, code 1 through the city of Peoria, past other fire engines to get here, or fire stations to get here, that doesn't make sense. I don't think that is giving, I don't think that's us living up to our duty to protect our citizens. All this does is this gets enough people on scene quick enough to give them the best chance at survival. I mean, I would like to point out, just pulling some rough numbers, talking to department heads last year, you know, by no fault of the fire department or anything of that nature, I think home fires were the #1 traumatic, non-self-inflicted killer in our community. And, you know, the year before, it was either tied with MVAs or higher. So that is something I would like to point out, is that this is a serious concern in our community. We do have fires that kill here. This is something that, you know, coming from my background, you know, I kind of envy people that don't have the experience of having to live through some of these things and notifying families and witnessing and being part of some of these things. But, you know, I take it extremely seriously when we start to talk about the loss of life in our community. So.
Okay.
I'm ready for my amendments, Mayor.
Go for it, Trustee Weisenberg.
All right, so what I'm just gonna, Clerk Turner, these might not be in order because I added them. So if I just say add a section, will you number them? I don't have to. Like, I'm gonna add sections, but I'm adding them after section 4.
Okay.
So
Do you
how
happen
does?
to have notes possibly, Trustee Weisenberg?
I got
that you
notes.
could email me?
I got all kinds of notes.
I have my email right up here, and then maybe I can just pull from your notes
Okay.
to get what you would like.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, I literally have my email up right now.
Oh,
I can
boy.
pull from it.
I had some technical issues today. I don't think I can
We
do
can work
that.
on that later then.
Okay.
I'll make sure. I'll get with you.
I'm in a bad spot right now, but,
All right, I'll get with you
all
later
right,
then.
sorry,
Thank you,
Mayor.
sir.
Wait, should we do them do we need to do them one by one, or we do them as a group?
We gotta vote on them one by one.
It's, if you want to have a blanket amendment, then you can do it that way, or if you want to have it one by one, you can do it that way.
I think I'd prefer to do
How
one by
many
one.
are there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Whichever way you prefer to
I'm gonna do them
propose
individually, but I'll talk quick.
Okay.
All right, so, Mayor, I move to amend Section 3 of Resolution 2025-15 by adding at the end of that section, and we'll get this to you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Provided that this agreement shall be presented for review and reauthorization by the village board on a quarterly basis, with the stated goal of terminating the agreement upon the Peoria Heights Fire Department achieving and maintaining a minimum staffing level of 4 firefighters per shift.
Okay, so the motion by Trustee Weisenberg is to amend Section 3 by adding a quarterly renewal. So basically a
Review and renewal.
sunset clause.
Review and renewal, correct.
So you're adding a 3-month sunset clause on a rotating basis to have this go through, and then putting a subjective goal.
Correct.
Okay, so you heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this amendment to have a rotating, revolving sunset, quarterly sunset clause on this agreement. Is there any debate on the?
Don't we think that is really too frequent? I mean, this is, I think, I think.
So where I got the quarterly, it was already in the resolution that
Yeah, but
we all
it doesn't
support.
automatically sunset. I mean, I do support a quarterly review and report, absolutely. So we can see where we are at any given time. Also, I have a question for council. Even if we didn't have a sunset clause, at any given time, could we we could ask for this to be on the agenda again. We see things are going south, too much money is being spent, and we can vote on it to terminate this. Is that
Yes,
right?
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
And if we get a new fire chief who comes in and looks at this agreement and says we no longer need this review, it can go as well. So this isn't necessarily permanent, but
So what
it just ensures that we review it quarterly and we move towards where we want the fire department
I
to be.
definitely would like to review it, but I don't want to have to vote on it to adopt it again every quarterly.
I believe every 90 days is frivolous. I think it's a waste of time. I would like to point out that one of the things that I do require of our fire department is a monthly report from Chief Artist, and I think we've been very consistent with that. We have come to the table, we've been very transparent with everything. If there's an issue with that being brought up, if there's an issue with that, we're more than happy to accommodate any trustee that would like to see any sort of transparency. We're pretty open. But every 90 days, I don't think there's any other public safety department here that has to worry about a renewal of an agreement, the authorization of an agreement. Is there, chiefs? Okay.
To my knowledge, this entire agreement is unprecedented. So is the review. So.
Yes, but I would like to point out that we're also a municipality surrounded by another municipality, and we're simply just, like I said, we're using what our neighbors are offering to let us use.
And again, 6 months from now or 4 months from now, we see things going well or we see things going poorly, we can put this on the agenda and vote on it again, right?
If I may, I want to mention or interject here that I don't find this unreasonable. It's new, and for the first year, I think we should have the option to review it on a quarterly.
Review, for sure.
And also vote towards keeping that amendment.
Council, I have a question. Okay, we all agree that it needs to be, we need to have a review quarterly. So if in our quarterly review, if we did not have the sunset clause, can we make a vote in that meeting if it's not posted on the agenda to terminate the agreement?
No action by this board is valid unless it is on an agenda.
Okay, so if we had a review and we were unhappy, we would have to wait the 2 weeks or whatever to make the
You could
vote.
have a.
You can always have a
Special
special
meeting.
meeting on 48 hours' notice.
Okay, so how could this wording be altered to still have the review but not have a sunset clause, but still make sure that this board reviews it to that extent quarterly?
Any two trustees at any time can have an agenda item to terminate the agreement.
Okay. How does
That doesn't need to be in here. You have that right.
I think a quarterly review is good, and I think all you have to do is just ask for it.
Can you reread me your amendment, please?
Certainly. You want the whole amendment or just my changes?
Your changes.
Provided that this agreement shall be presented for review, and reauthorized by the village board on a quarterly basis with the stated goal of terminating the agreement upon the Peoria Fire Department achieving and maintaining a minimum staffing level of 4 trained firefighters per shift. Now, there are other things that we vote on periodically.
So to be reworded to just say reviewed by the board instead of reauthorized? Is that the?
Yeah, would you be willing to do that, to
Certainly.
take out that, but then still have it be with the stated goal?
Can I just strike reauthorization?
If you have a second, so if your second agrees with that, then you
I
can.
agree with it.
Yeah, I would like to strike reauthorize.
Okay, so now the amendment is essentially removes the sunset provision.
Correct.
And just adds a stated goal.
Mandates the, yeah, correct.
Okay.
The review and stated goal.
Clerk Turner, do you have the appropriate understanding of what the amendment is?
Let me check it with trustee Weisenberg and trustee
sorry,
Reichert to
Mayor.
make sure I understand. Trustee Reichert, trustee Weisenberg, you're attempting to make an amendment that will mandate a quarterly review of the agreement as well, up until the stated goal of having and maintaining 4 trained staff per shift.
Correct, and I will also email that to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've heard the amendment by Trustee Weisenberg, read by Clerk Turner. We have a second by Trustee Reichert. Is there any more comments on this amendment?
I would like to point out that the 4 firefighters per shift still does not meet the minimum requirements for a structure fire with the National Fire Protection Agency. Like I said, it's 15 firefighters on scene in 9 minutes, 90% of the time. That is obviously not met by 4 firefighters and would not be met by a MABUS card with 1 Peoria truck and a battalion chief en route. And I think that is a goal, absolutely, to have more firefighters per shift. I don't disagree with you, Trustee Weisenberg. I do think that we do need more firefighters per shift. I think that as we grow as a community, we will even have more calls where we'll need 2 trucks out. And if we had 4 firefighters, that would be wonderful. But I still don't think that I don't think that's a goal for structure fires to return to the MABUS card. I'm just saying that. But as far as reviews of this, absolutely. I think accountability in government, I'm right with you. I think transparency and accountability in government is absolutely paramount. But at the same time, for accountability, I think all you have to do is just ask for a report. And since I believe we're invoiced quarterly, that is the report that we can submit, is the invoice and reports with that, if that's what you would like. And what kind of review would you, or do you have anything specific in the review that you would like other than that?
I think we're ready for the vote. I am, at least, unless there's other questions.
So I guess the question has been called. So we'll go ahead and have the vote on the amendment.
Okay. Trustee Steinwaddle.
Aye.
Trustee Kazan.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert. Aye.
That motion carries. So, great. Now we're on to the second one.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm sorry, Mayor. So I'm going to label this section 5, Stephanie, but you'll see that when I come up with the email. So, Mayor, I move to amend, Resolution 2025-15, adding section 5. The Village of Peoria Heights shall maintain its existing MABUS and mutual aid agreements. Nothing in this automatic response agreement with the City of Peoria shall preclude the village from requesting or providing mutual aid to and from other municipal partners, which shall be dispatched concurrently as the situation warrants. I ask for a second.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Weisenberg to amend section 5 and seconded by Trustee DeVore to add the section 5. Any comments on this? Oh, I heard.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We answered at the same time.
Thank you for clarifying, Mayor and Trustee DeVore.
Any comments or questions on this?
Chief Artis, is the automatic aid agreement and the MABUS agreement 2 totally separate things?
Well, yes, just because of the language, obviously. The idea, and we discussed this, and I'm going to try to temper my remarks just so I'm just going to try to answer your question, is the idea, and we discussed this, is the automatic aid would kind of stop the need to drain the resources from these other departments unnecessarily. And again, I'm answering a question. I'm not trying to influence anything. My point is what's been going on was not only not good for Peoria Heights, it wasn't good for these other municipalities as well. And I think, well, I'll stop right there. But they are 2 different things, and what we're basically doing is saying we're going to drain the resources of all the surrounding communities.
Mayor, I've been here since 2019. I've had interactions with West Peoria and several other departments. That concern of draining the resources has never been brought up to me, and This is live stream that those departments can listen to this meeting. If they have concerns about that, then I think their fire chiefs need to express that. But I think it's important that we maintain our regional influence and our regional assistance to other communities, because it's beneficial when those volunteer firefighters respond to our fire calls because they're getting training. Now, whether their fire chiefs think it's a drain, I mean, that's their prerogative, and if they can't send a truck, then they can say not able to respond. But I think it's imperative that we maintain our relationship with these departments because it helps them too. That training they don't get, they're not, career firefighters, so maybe the on calls they get are helping respond to Peoria. So I think that's good for all communities, and we should maintain those relationships.
Chief Artist, correct me if I'm wrong, but having the Mavis though, like if something like Forest Park Nature Center were to have like a full prairie fire, like wouldn't that still be beneficial to have them be on Mavis, or am I not understanding that correctly?
Mavis would still exist. Again, when you're talking about water rescue, when you talk about high-angle rescue, when you talk about a situation like that, there was just a situation in Peoria, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, where they actually asked for mutual aid from the surrounding departments to tender water because they had a significant brush fire and needed these other departments who had water tenders. So that system is still in place for when it is necessary. To Trustee Weisenberg's point, I guarantee you, if you talk to the chiefs of these other departments, they're absolutely going to say it's not a drain. You know why? Because this is threatening their kingdoms. This is why this has never changed. Period. It's not because of care for the citizens. It's not because of care for the firefighters. It's because it's protecting kingdoms. So feel free to ask these other chiefs. I'll tell you right now what they're going to say. And I'll tell you right now what they think of this possible agreement.
The attitude of Peoria Fire Department and the surrounding departments is well documented. There's a lot of hostility. Yes, there is, Chief Artist. There's a lot of toxicity. So this whole kingdoms talk comes from that. You can Google all you want. Peoria's had task force. They've had memos about strengthening these bonds that are strained. And I don't think we need to dabble in that. I think it's important for us to maintain these municipal relationships with these surrounding communities. And that's what this amendment does. It doesn't mandate that they have to come. We aren't forcing anybody to come. This just states the purpose.
Chief Artist, does training with another department strengthen a bond?
It does. And I would also like to say that using emergency scenes as training is significantly troubling. I had a chief tell me a couple years ago after the Super Liquors fire, when he was asked why he only called one Peoria engine, well, I have to let the other guys play. This isn't fun and games, Trustee. And the time to get training is not on emergency scenes.
That doesn't mandate anything.
Okay, so from what I understand, this is, the amendment is to basically, are we, by doing this, because we already have essentially an agreement, a Mavis agreement, already in place.
Yeah, I just don't want that to go away. So this just says that this automatic agreement is not going to replace our Mavis if we need it, and we're going to maintain those relationships with those municipalities.
It's basically just restating what we currently have, yeah? Like what?
And then, what was the last sentence of your amendment?
Of
section 5 that you're adding?
So it's kind of a run-on sentence, but it's nothing in this automatic response agreement with the city of Peoria shall preclude the village of Peoria from requesting or providing mutual aid to other municipal partners which shall be dispatched concurrently as the situation warrants it. So they can, if we need it, we pull it. If we don't, we don't.
Does that, and I don't think, Council, I'm not going to throw this to you because I don't know really, the Mavis agreement, does this, I don't want this amendment to contradict the Mavis agreement that we have in place already.
I didn't hear anything in that language that threatens that.
Okay.
So it's just refortifies that, you know, we are a village of 5,000 people. In my mind, this is where how I crafted this amendment, that we need to maintain those relationships. I don't want them to cast us in similar light as Chief Artist talked about kingdoms, which is actually very offensive. I just don't want to be cast in that light.
Okay, and what I will also say to the entirety of the board is that if you do have comments, you can address them to the chair, me, the mayor, and just keep things addressed to me. So with that being said, is there any other discussion on this amendment?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think that we should influence any further chief's use or non-use of MABUS. I think the chief that we hire or that you appoint and we ratify should have the sole ability to use MABUS as he sees fit and is as safe for the citizens as possible. I don't think there's any point to having any language that inhibits or promotes the use of MABUS at our discretion, because we are not the fire chief, and I believe that hiring a fire chief, we should have full faith and confidence in that fire chief once they're hired to use MABUS at their discretion. MABUS isn't going anywhere, but I don't believe that we should have any influence or have any ambiguity that would influence a new hired fire chief down the road to what their use of MABUS is.
Mayor, just for clarification, this doesn't do any of that, so.
Right. Call the roll.
Okay, are we all good? Okay, so Clerk Turner, you understand the amendment for adding section 5?
Just to run this past Trustee DeVore and Trustee Weisenberg as the makers of the amendment, I have it summarized as the following. Adding a section 5, that the village will maintain mutual and MABUS agreements, and nothing will keep the village from requesting and or providing mutual aid to other departments which shall be dispatched concurrently. Does that?
As the situation warrants.
As the situation warrants. I knew I was missing something. Thank you.
I want it obviously to be up to the fire chief and the fire department.
Thank you for
what
adding
situation
that.
warrants
That's,
it.
yes. All right.
Okay, call the roll.
Okay.
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Nay.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert? Aye. Pass.
Motion carries. Okay, another amendment.
There is a limit because my battery is about to die. Mayor, I move to amend Resolution 2025-15, adding Section 6. The automatic response agreement shall explicitly stipulate that the Peoria Heights Fire Chief or their designated command officer shall retain ultimate incident command authority at all times for incidents occurring within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Village of Peoria Heights. Actually, hold on, Mayor. I'm sorry, that one was not, because I changed it. Sure, sorry, Mayor. Stephanie, the automatic response agreement shall explicitly stipulate that the Peoria Heights Fire Chief or Assistant Chief shall have sole authority to determine incident command for all incidents occurring within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Village of Peoria Heights. The Peoria Heights Fire Command Officer may choose to retain command or delegate tactical command to the senior Peoria officer on scene, while the Peoria Heights Command Officer retains ultimate oversight and responsibility. Personnel from the City of Peoria Fire Department shall operate under the direction of the designated incident commander.
What if the?
I know we had talked about that, sorry, Trustee
go
Kazan.
ahead.
I know we had talked about, and I think Chief Artist said this, that when, the two departments come together, whoever, the Peoria Heights would be in command, but if for some reason the Peoria Heights command officer would like Peoria to stay in command, this just kind of codifies that. That says that we will maintain control, but we can delegate that command to Peoria.
Okay, you said it differently than it's written here in one word, shall retain
Because I'm sorry, that
ultimate-
was old.
Okay,
That
I
was
think
old.
this word ultimate is
Yeah.
actually preferred to what you read. Because what if Peoria gets on the scene first? It's ultimately the decision. At this point, it doesn't.
Right. I just amended that because I wanted it, I didn't want to say that, I didn't want to force our fire department to wrangle control from Peoria. If they get on site and Peoria Heights, everything's going good, then they can just keep going. But, if we get on site, our fire chief gets on site, this just kind of codifies that it's their jurisdiction, they're in control of the scene, if they so choose to be.
Chief Artis, do you have a comment about that?
And I believe that's what we had discussed previously.
Well, it is. The only thing I would say is it's just kind of redundant, just because, again, that's built into the incident command system. And again, this is you guys' show. I'm just saying that it's already built in the incident command system, that whoever's jurisdiction it is, when they arrive on the scene, it's completely up to them. And again, this is Incident Command 101. It's completely up to the chief or the assistant chief of the jurisdiction where the incident occurs to either relinquish or take over command from whoever the incident commander is at the time, or allow that person to continue to be the incident commander, and then the chief of the jurisdiction could be safety or just be his assistant. And again, it's just understood. It's Incident Command 101.
I agree.
That's the only reason I would say that.
We had that discussion before, and I believe when our fire departments come together, they're going to work just fine. But this is an unusual and unprecedented agreement. So I think the 6 policymakers up here ultimately decide what's policy for the village of Peoria Heights. So I think codifying this is prudent to protecting the village of Peoria Heights.
Okay, but
So,
I know that this is going
Just one
very.
point of order, Trustee Kasabian, I'll hand it right back to you. This motion is kind of in purgatory because we have not had a second yet. So is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
I don't have to repeat any of that.
Sorry, Trustee Kasabian.
I just want to make one comment, and I know this is going really long, but we don't do this to the police department. We up here have a job to do, and we are not fire professionals, and we are not police professionals, and we do not tie the hands with all of this for any other public safety department, or any department, public works or anything. So I feel like this is a little bit ridiculous.
I don't think this
and disrespectful.
I don't think this ties the hands of anybody. It actually is exactly what Chief Artis says they do. It's just putting it in the resolution so that it protects us. It's not tying anybody's hand. And we don't have this agreement with the city of Peoria on police. So Chief Artis mentioned this is how they operate, and this is how we want to operate because we don't want to lose control. So this is just putting it in the agreement that we're going to have when Peoria responds to our emergencies. It doesn't tie anybody's hands. It's actually the opposite. It's making sure that no one's hands are
I think it's
tied.
important that people hear that and understand that process, because it's a working process. There's a lot of people that are not in the fire department field to understand that, and being able to read it and hear it clarifies how that command works in a situation.
Okay. So is there any more discussion or comments on the amendment to add section 6? Peoria Fire Department shall retain command on site.
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert? Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
There's only one more, Mayor.
Okay.
I move to amend Resolution 2025-15, adding Section 7. To mitigate the financial impact of the fees outlined in Section 2, the Village of Peoria Heights shall establish a cost recovery program for any incident where fees are incurred from the City of Peoria for services provided to a non-resident of the village. This village shall seek full reimbursement of those costs from the responsible party or their insurance carrier. The village administrator is hereby authorized to implement the necessary procedures and agreements to officiate this cost recovery. And just a few comments on that. One of my concerns is...
You have to have a second.
Oh, second, please.
Second.
Thank you. It's been a long night.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second by Trustee Weisenberg to add section 7, seconded by Trustee DeVore. Sorry, go ahead, Clerk Turner.
No, I'm right. Thank you, Mayor.
So go ahead, trustee Weisenberg.
So I know in the city of Peoria, if you're not a Peoria citizen, you have an accident, they bill your insurance company or recover those costs. So there's a very high likelihood that citizens from Peoria will could come in, God forbid they don't get an accident and need to be cut out of their car, but if they come into the village of Peoria Heights and they have an accident, the city of Peoria is going to bill us for that. So this is just basically instituting the program that Peoria has to recoup those costs.
Okay, I'm going to go to council. Council?
I had it on my agenda to draft just such a ordinance, actually, for the next meeting. So you're going to see that as a standalone, it has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously related, but
Right.
by itself, to implement cost recovery consistent with everything that you said, but also the lift assists
Okay.
that are so frequent, and the law changed, and we can now recover for lift assists, which has nothing to do with what is currently, but that will be something that is coming before this board for a vote on its own.
Thank you.
So it's my understanding, however, council, is that if we do move forward with trustee Weisenberg's amendment, he would charge the administrator to do that proactively.
Sure. Belt and suspenders.
With the exception of the lift assist, which was not included.
Exactly.
Are you saying this premature,
You're welcome to add that to your amendment as well, if you want.
the lift assist?
Yeah.
There are very particular issues with lift assists.
Okay,
that
so
I would
maybe
prefer.
keep that separate.
I'd rather not. I would keep
Okay.
that separate because this is
So
just in
basically
relation to
what-
the fee we're getting from Peoria, recovering that cost.
So what we're saying is you want a reciprocal agreement, basically reciprocal agreement that Peoria, city of Peoria has already for extrications. We would be enacting
Non-citizens.
our own.
Yep.
My question to that is, are we assigning fault with the accident? Let's say a Peoria Heights resident hits a Peoria resident and entraps the Peoria resident in their vehicle. Are we invoicing the Peoria resident for the extrication and then they have to sue the Heights resident?
It's going to function.
No, that's the insurance companies.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're just invoicing the Peoria.
We just
right?
invoiced the person that was extricated.
Okay.
That's mitigation.
Okay. Is there any concerns or comments on this amendment? Clerk Turner, do you understand the addition of section 7 appropriately?
I do, thank you, Mayor.
Hearing no more comments, we'll have the roll called.
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion
All
carries.
right. Thanks. Just 5 more, Mayor. No.
Okay, that was good. I needed some levity. So everything passed. So are there any other amendments or questions to come before the board on this amended resolution number 2025-15? Hearing none. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazan?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
No.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
No.
Trustee Reichert?
No.
Mayor, that was 3-3.
Okay, so on this, I think on the, since it is a tie, it falls to me. I will say that at our last discussion on this, one of the most persuasive person was Chief Reichert, who got up here and said, we had to do this once when our numbers dropped. And if it was good enough for Chief Reichert then it is good enough for me. Now I vote yes.
That passes, Mayor, with your vote.
Okay, so we will now move on to, you know what, I'm going to move things around a little bit. So we'll move to Trustee Kazam, ordinance number 2025-15. 1774, an ordinance changing the zoning classification for certain real property located on East Duryea Avenue in the village of Peoria Heights, Illinois. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, trustee Kazam?
Yes, so this is the property that once, I didn't even say we're out of order now. Okay, I was thinking about the Larry Herman property. No, it is the Larry Herman property, isn't it? These two things are the same.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. But what belonged to Larry, it's been purchased, and the intent is to build 5 townhomes on the site. And we are rezoning the classification from B2 to R3.
Okay. We have
Yes,
some
and
people that have patiently waited
Thank you.
here through almost 3 hours. So would you all like to come to the podium? And it's not necessary if you.
If you have questions, we're more than welcome or happy to answer if you need us to.
Are there any questions of the board?
On the rezoning or the site
On,
plan?
this is just the.
The site plan, this is the site
This is
plan, and the
the-
next one is rezoning.
No.
No, this is the zoning classification for certain
Oh,
real
okay.
property located in. So 2025-1774.
No questions.
Hearing none, then we'll have the roll call.
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move along to site plan approval filed by King Donellan Joint Venture LLC, William King seeking approval of a site plan for the development of a multifamily townhome complex consisting of 5 townhomes on the property located at 1201 East Duryea Avenue, Peoria Heights, Illinois, 61616. PIN number is listed, which currently is zoned B2, which I don't think is true anymore. General Retail District, and R3, multifamily residential district. So I think by our last motion, that's no longer true, but.
Yep. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Trustee
We've
Kazam,
seen
seconded
the-
by trustee DeVore.
We've seen the site plan in our packets, so if anyone has any questions, either I or the developers can answer them.
I do. So in the zoning meeting, it said that they approved the site plan based on the completion of civil engineering of numbers 4 and 5. So I believe that was in regards to drainage and things like that. Did you complete that, or are we still waiting on that?
The latter, we're still waiting on just official approval so we can then move forward and kick off the civil engineer.
Sure. So,
For the sake of those listening at home, do you mind coming to the podium? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. We are really just waiting on you guys to officially approve everything, and then we can give the civil engineer the green light so we can produce those stamp drawings for the village.
Mayor, is it since it is part of the approval by the zoning board, is it necessary to make an amendment stating that the condition would be that we would approve the site plan with the completion of the civil engineering, or is that base already covered?
Counsel?
If you approve what is recommended, the condition is part of the recommendation.
Okay,
So the motion would be to, I think the motion was to approve the site plan, probably does require an amendment because it did not specifically incorporate the condition.
Sure. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment that the approval of the site plan would include the civil engineering verification required by the zoning board.
So a motion to amend by trustee DeVore. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Weisenberg.
Steinwaddle.
Weisenberg.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Any discussions on the amendment? Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
If I may, Mayor, just make one quick comment. We've been talking about a lot of big subjects tonight, but I just want to applaud your effort. We're very grateful for this initiative. That has been an empty lot for some time, and we're thrilled about seeing development there. And you're actually directly addressing a need in our community that we've been discussing for the 6 years that I've been on this board, which is basically single, larger homes. So we're very excited about it.
Well,
Thank you very
we
much.
appreciate you guys taking the time to listen, and I mean, it's all Roberta and Bill, you know, and then Baldovan is just more than welcome to help out.
Great.
So thank you.
We're excited to work with you in the future.
Us too.
Well said, Trustee Kazam. Any other comments or questions on this site plan approval? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
This is on the site plan as amended. Trustee Steinwaddle.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert. Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being so
Thank you.
patient.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move, again, I'm moving things around a little bit, Trustee Kazam. We're going to now move to Resolution 2025-16, a resolution with Trustee DeVore, approving a proposal from Herman Associates LLC for engineering services.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-16.
Second?
We have a motion by Trustee DeVore, seconded by Trustee Kazam. Trustee DeVore.
Yes, so what you have in front of you is a proposal from Herman Associates in the amount of $184,827. This is for the engineering and reconstruction of sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and any other necessary pavement requirements to create ProWalk and ADA curbs and sidewalks at 34 intersections down Glen Avenue.
Yeah, very exciting.
Thank you. And Alicia's here. Remember, I will just say that a lot of this funding, if not all of it, came to us by a Tri-County Regional Planning Commission grant. So this is not coming out of the general fund. And then Herman and Associates was selected independently through Tri-County to be our administrator and take lead on that. So this just puts this project and ADA compliant sidewalks into action along Glen. Fair enough? Okay.
You know, knowing a little bit more about this, I just want to make sure you guys realize too that this is just going to be the first step to the Glen rehab, is that in order to do a mill and overlay on that pavement, the first step is actually making sure all of our ADA ramps are ProAg compliant. So that'll be the first thing, and then that'll set us up for future grant funding applications.
Terrific.
Thanks, Alicia, for always keeping us on track with that.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns, comments on this agenda item?
I think this is great that we're making our community more ADA compliant for everybody that can come here.
Well said. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle.
Aye.
Trustee Kazam.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert. Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you for sticking around, Alicia. All right, now we'll go back to Trustee Kazam. Ordinance 2025-1772, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of tax increment financing interested parties registries and adoption of registration rules for such registries for proposed Peoria Heights Tax Increment Financing District 4.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Kazam, seconded by Trustee Steinwaddle. Trustee Kazam.
So Mark Lee is here this evening, and he can speak to this more than I can, but this is the new establishment, or council as well, of a fourth tax increment financing zone that will encompass, unfortunately, there's not anything in our packet that illustrates where this is, but it is the area below the hill addressing residents and also businesses and the new development that's coming for Route 29.
Any questions, comments on this agenda item?
So this TIF district, will this, I know funds can be transferred between TIF districts as long as they touch. Will this touch existing TIF districts that already have funds?
The plan is yes.
Yep.
Perfect. And will
And,
this,
and this is just a first step in the process. This does not actually create the TIF district. It just starts the ball.
Public hearings. And
Yeah, it starts the ball rolling. It's a rather lengthy process, so you're gonna be hearing it again. And you'll think deja vu, but, it's just, it's a step-by-step process.
so
It's
just to
step
make,
one.
just to make this clear, this doesn't start our 23-year clock on a TIF life,
No.
right? Perfect.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle.
Aye.
Trustee Kazan.
Aye.
Trustee Simmons.
Aye.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Trustee Reichert.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are now down to miscellaneous business. Is there any miscellaneous business to come before the board?
I have a couple, if I may.
Trustee Simmons?
I just wanted to mention, and to our veterans, thank you for the newsletter from Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 2602. I appreciate their information. And I also want to acknowledge the honor flight is today. So our veterans will be arriving back tonight. And I respect them and I appreciate their service and our active military as well.
Thank you.
I want to mention that I do have a report regarding our lead line replacements. As of Friday, October the 3rd, we have 131 lead lines replaced at no cost again to the residents. I do want to mention that there were 2 addresses that we've exhausted all attempts to possibly get a hold of them. They have not reciprocated. I will announce those addresses in public if that's okay. No?
I would err on the side of not.
Done. And then we also have one that has completely refused service, and I will not disclose that address, of course, to respect their privacy. But there has been mentioned in past meetings that we will keep track of those that did not get their lead lines replaced, and we will move these 2 additional addresses to a future date to address them as well, to try to pursue getting it done.
Will you remind me of what area of the Heights has been completed?
We have Marietta, Monroe, Scioto. They've been working on Cox, Lake. There's been multiple streets that have been already been serviced.
So we haven't ventured up Glen yet or anything that direction?
No, basically
no.
Toledo south
Toledo,
on the
yeah.
Okay.
west side of Prospect.
And I
Right, we
missed
talked to you
Toledo.
about that.
Yep.
Can you say if the residences that are declining or refusing lead line replacement, are they owner occupied or rental?
I don't know. I believe they're rental.
The owner
Is
has
rental.
to refuse that.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
it's not up to somebody renting the house. The owner
It-
of the property has
I
to
apologize, I
fill out the
misunderstood your
refusal.
question. It is another individual that owns this property, and notices have been put on the doors, and they've been contacted by the standards of, and the owner of the property will not reciprocate.
Is there a tenant in the property?
Chris?
One of them, no, that
It just,
that we could not get a hold of, no, there's no one living in that one.
yeah.
Okay. But we don't have any landlords refusing lead line replacement with tenants in place, correct?
No.
No.
Okay.
And Trustee Simmons, would you give us an update? One of the things is financing and funding for this particular round. Are we running out?
You're running really close. Next Wednesday, we're going to have another conference call, and we'll be able to assess more where we are with the budget. As of Friday, October the 3rd, approximately $50,000 left in that budget. But I need to get more of a clarity on the restructure of the pavement, sidewalks, et cetera, of those investigations and lead lines that have been already taken place. So we need to get another conference call in Wednesday to give you a confirmation on where that number is.
And that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe, just to clarify, we changed, would you say 130?
131.
Right,
That was that
I won't
Friday.
give a fictitious number, but I believe we've identified, including those, over 180 with those included, that did not need replaced. So we've
Yeah.
eliminated, I
Noted.
believe, a little over 180 off
you,
of our
Chris.
list.
That's great.
Any other miscellaneous business?
I have a few things, and I'll be really fast.
Okay.
One of the things was that I had the opportunity to meet with Mark Lee and Wayne Altrich last week. It was really great to see Wayne. We discussed all the projects that are in the pipeline right now, and one of the suggestions was that we choose a date, and I will email some possibilities to my fellow trustees to have a meeting where Mark and Wayne can explain for all of us, but also the newer trustees, the projects that are happening, so there can be a full understanding of what phase we're in, what the intent is, all that type of thing. So that's the first thing.
As long as we post that as a meeting, if there's going to
Yeah.
be more than.
First,
Yeah.
we'll figure out the date, and then we'll-
Exactly.
Okay.
Trustee Kazam, can I add, when you do schedule that, you remember when we requested to have like what our financial commitment was that we'd already agreed to every project? When we have that meeting, can you ensure that we have an updated form of that as well?
Yes, I can. And then, let me see, I'm scribbling this down. In conjunction with the Chamber's initiative, I met with a group of retail owners, shop owners this week, and it's really a wonderful grassroots initiative where these businesses are going to collaborate and attract new businesses and that type of thing. But out of that conversation, this idea of having wayfinding signs came up again, and I know we've discussed it, and I know that this is in our zoning and all that, but if there's any creative way, Chris, that we could try to get something like temporary, like a nice structure but temporary sooner than later, that would be, and I know you're working on signs as well, and so is Brandon. I want to discuss that with you all, if that's possible. I see that there's a new sign being put up where Raymond James is in front of the Pabst building. And then lastly, I reached out to the Riverfront Museum regarding the 250th anniversary, Mayor, and we'll be meeting with John Morris on some kind of collaboration with the museum so we can create our celebration that's necessary for us to be, one of the requirements for us to be participating in that program.
I appreciate you doing that, Trustee Kazam.
That's everything.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous? Okay. We're now down to general comments from the audience. So if you would like to make a comment, I'd ask that you come to the podium, give your name, address, and try to keep it within about 5 minutes. Comments going once. Oh, please.
I'm Gary Goffinette. I live at 5029 Lakeside Place, Peoria Heights. I noticed during the conversation with the traffic, in that middle lane, somebody talked about unloading trucks from the center, that center lane. Don't we have alleys and stuff in back of the businesses where they can unload? Isn't that kind of dangerous to be?
That concerned me too, and I will ask. Oh, well, they're still here. They can speak to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Go
Gary.
ahead.
Sorry, real quick. I know, I agree. I don't think they would be loading from the center lane. They'd use the lane closest to the building, right? The traffic could use the center lane to go around them. But some of the business owners we talked about either don't have access from the rear to get their deliveries brought in, or they come on large trucks, semi trucks, some of the box trucks can park on the side roads, but those semis just can't sometimes maneuver back in those alleys to be able to get in and out. So that was the reason for that. So. If there's lines or turn lanes, either way, they can still use that drive lane closest to the building, then cars can still cross those lines to maintain two-way traffic there. So.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Comments going once, twice? Comments are closed. We're now down to adjourn. Do I have your motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion.
Don't all say it at once. So, motion by Trustee Steinwedel, seconded by Trustee DeVore. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
I thought it was good.
I don't know if I can stand.
Come on, get up.
Sorry, I had to get bathroom so bad. I was
Oh, I
like,
get it.
I was like, I can't wait.
I told you to break.
I did. I brought snacks and a water.
Yeah.
For showing me that fake printout, because that last one just fine.
In the history of Illinois, right?
One changed it, so I was afraid this is the reason we got changes.
You told me you weren't.
I was thinking the same thing when he was talking about.
I saw it coming. I was going by and say, you told me you weren't going to do this.
Seriously,